All right, I think you guys are hearable. And hey, wait a minute. I think we got someone someone is invading our podcast. Who is this? This ain't a call-in? No, who is this stranger? So who are you?
What's good? What's up, guys? I'm RezSunsu, formerly Wolf Ninja, friend of GK and Death Row here for like a year and a half, 2 years at this point. Something like that. COVID's time warping is crazy. Anyway, RezSunsu, new name. You can call me RezSunsu, either one. RezSunsu comes from an old name of Rez, my original tag when I used to do graffiti. I'm going to say used to for legal purposes. And Sunsu just being a kata from karate, which is my favorite. So there you have it. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. Short and sweet. Like my wall? My nerd wall?
All right, but what kind of games would you say you play frequently for those who don't follow you?
For those who don't follow me, the games I play, you can probably see some of them on the wall. Shooters is my main thing. Apex Legends, Overwatch, Rainbow Six Siege, Call of Duty. Apex Legends is sort of the mainstay right now. I typically shoot and rank solo queue climbs for top position, Diamond, Masters, Predator. Usually hitting Diamonds or Masters every single season. I've peaked top 50 in the world with shotguns on my server. I sometimes play action games, MOBAs like League of Legends. I play fighter games like For Honor, Smash, Mortal Kombat. And sometimes I play story games like God of War, because God of War is one of the best in the world. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, God of War will be an interesting topic of discussion when that actually comes out.
I cannot wait if I can find a PS5.
Oh, that I keep forgetting that's a thing.
If I can find one that's not over $1,000, like yikes.
Damn scalp. When is the next God of War coming out?
God of War 2 comes out 2022, I think.
So you have time. You have time to find one that's not scalped.
Yeah.
Maybe. Is God of War gonna get scalped?
No, I mean you can't scalp a game really. Digital copies.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's a downloadable, duh. But dude, the console though, it's almost as bad as finding graphics cards. I think even worse.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the main reason scalping is such a problem right now is because of the silicon chip shortage. I don't know if you guys ever talked about that previously.
Oh yeah, I make those at my job, so
it literally like it's affecting everybody. It's affecting the automotive industry,
cars, majorly, all consumer consumer electronics.
Yeah, it's literally, so it's I don't understand. Here's what I don't understand, right? Companies, I don't want to name companies. That's actually a bad idea. But companies that distribute GPUs, I won't name any names, and that distribute consoles, I won't name any names. Why aren't they doing like a limit 2 per account thing? Why aren't they taking the moral high ground? I understand their businesses, but they don't need to worry about not selling. Come on. They're big companies. What do you mean 2 count? You mean
limit per customer?
Yeah, like why aren't they limiting it per account?
Yeah, actually, They don't. They let you buy like mass quantities. I thought most websites did limit like
some
2
places
per person.
do. So like Micro Center right now only allows you to buy 1 graphics card every 30 days. It's not helping because
how are these bot accounts?
Here's what I did. I went to Micro Center and I wanted to get a graphics card. I couldn't. I was like, because I'm asking the same question as you. How are they gone if they're limiting one customer every 30 days? How are they always gone?
They probably hire a person. They give a person $20. Hey, here's $20 for you. Here's the money for the card. Buy it for me.
This guy was telling me that because he has a farm, he does a crypto farm. So he was telling me that what he does is he goes to the homeless shelter. He hires these homeless guys, pays them $20 to stand online with them and order a graphics card, and then boom, that's how he does it.
There's no real way to check that. Yeah. You know, there's no way to stop that, because what if one of those homeless people legit is a big gamer? You don't know.
Right.
I didn't even think about that, because I was thinking more of the digital aspect of like, I don't know, they write some sort of script and have like 30 windows.
That's for the online,
and
that
the
too.
Bots
that
just
too.
buy in mass. I don't know.
That's too though.
Like,
see, that's multiple accounts. Yeah, but in person, I remember that was a big thing with the iPhone launch. like every time there's an iPhone launch, someone will hire a bunch of homeless people.
You can pay someone to stand in line, right? But that's like one person. I didn't think of like
no, there's multiple.
They homeless shelter. Like what?
They hire a whole bunch of people just so they can resell and scalp and make a big profit. And it's really. It is. It's a very scummy thing.
Death Row, can I have that farmer's name and address? I'm just gonna, I just.
He doesn't want to tell you it's really him. He was talking about a friend.
No, I
friend.
wish I was smart. No, I just want to.
Anyway,
I have a question. It's hard enough for me to get them myself.
All right, we sort of hit it. That was an interesting tangent, but I think it's now time to get to our main topic, which is obscure and or dead games we liked in the past. So,
sorry, chat.
Well, do you want to open, Rez?
Yeah. So obscure. Someone in my chat was like, I can't hear them. I accidentally had you guys muted on my side. Professional streamer, by the way. Professional, completely.
Very.
This is not my first time at all.
This is a weird website, so not Discord.
Yeah. So let's see. I'm about to start with MAG. So we were kind of talking about it before we started. MAG, if you guys don't know what that is, I'm pretty sure it's standard for massive. I don't remember what the A is. Let me see.
I'm gonna look it up.
Look that up. Do a quick search. MAG
game.
Oh man.
The first thing that comes up, MAG is a defunct massive online multiplayer.
Yeah, there it is. So MAG basically is like the last ditch effort of Socom. For those of you who don't know who Socom is, Socom was like a really old school third person shooter. Because before I was a first person shooter player, I was a third person shooter player actually. It's a fun fact. So on PlayStation 2 is when Sony launched the PlayStation Network, not on the PS3 as most people think. PlayStation 2, Socom launched with the online system for Sony, and that was like one of the first big hit like shooter online games. And I was on that all the time. I even got to the point where I started playing competitively on what was it called? Game Battles. Was that what it was called back then?
Yeah, game battles. Right? Yeah, I was part of that too.
That's a throwback. I'm going way back. So game battles. Damn, I feel old. And I was part of a clan, and we played competitively. And then fast forward to PS3. Socom kind of had like a thing on PS3. It didn't really work out too well because third-person shooters kind of started dipping because of things like Halo and Call of Duty came into popularity, which is obviously first-person shooters. So third-person shooters kind of just started dipping and was no longer relevant because it was all about first-person shooters. Thank you, Call of Duty and Halo, for that. So I adapted. You know, it is what it is. I started playing Call of Duty. Your boy was in Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 1, of course. But with MAG, they were like, oh, we see Battlefield as a thing. Battlefield was really popular. And Battlefield is kind of similar to Socom. It was very tactical. You really organized. And so they tried to launch MAG. MAG was basically just like this gigantic, like it was like 100 versus 100 teams. And you'd break into like smaller teams of like 20 and then into smaller squads of like 5. And there'd be squad leaders.
256.
Yeah, there you go. It was like gigantic teams, like an actual Battlefield. And to me, if MAG was successful, I think it would have taken over what Battlefield is right now, because like it was actually fire, because you'd have these chains of commands breaking down to the squad level, and depending on what you were doing, like I think you'd rank up, and you would have more like abilities. Like if you were like a squad leader, you could designate your squad to go certain areas. If you were like a leader of the squad leaders, I don't know what it's called, to be honest. I can't remember the terms. You could call in like air
lieutenants,
strikes,
like generals and like, commanders.
Right, like if you're like a general, you could call in airstrikes to areas, or you could call
got some gameplay
commands, to designate like your squad leaders to go to certain areas. It was really fun. It was a tactical game, and like the gameplay actually felt good. The only problem is like it was a little jittery. Like it felt a little like that jitteriness of having caffeine almost. In terms of the controls, just because of the online connection. And I think it just didn't flourish because, I don't know, maybe this is sort of not I think the reason, in my opinion, the reason why it dies, because just the culture changed. You know, back then this was cool, this sort of slower tactical style, but I think like just the attention span and the pace of games have just become so much quicker with games like Halo, Call of Duty, and like Fortnite. Even today, everything's about speed.
This game required coordination. I never played the game, so my concern was like you have a high-ranking person giving overarching orders, and then you have like squad commanders giving like local orders. But what's like what is the de-incentive to not like go off and do your own thing if you're a low level like just someone who's supposed to follow the orders? What's to stop people from going off doing random shit, you know, and just like not following the orders?
There was two aspects. If I look at it from like the developer point of view, that they sort of went off on, where there was like incentives within the game, like you'd achieve certain challenges, you'd unlock certain things, like, you know, armors and guns and attachments and things like that. And then there was also something of an honor system / roleplay kind of thing, where when you play this game, you know what you were getting. You weren't booting this up like a quick game like Call of Duty or something, where like, whatever, I'm gonna go around 360 no scoping kids. No, you're joining this because you're like, I want to play something tactical. I want to like work with someone towards an objective, work with a big group of people. Like Socom had that culture. This was a culture. Socom was a big like subculture.
What was the max amount of people in a Socom game?
I think 16 players.
Okay, so it was a little more, because the thing about it is that it's still
a big change.
I don't know if it would be a super niche thing, but it's something that isn't the most popular. So you have a big, massive playing field. You just don't have enough people to support those games all the time. And I bet it was hard to find a full server of MAG like after a week of launch.
What year was MAG big? What year was this?
Let's see. MAG came out 2010. 2010.
See,
damn, 11 years
ago. Very different back then.
Looking at this, it's kind of funny because look at it. It reminds me of Battlefield. I played a lot of Battlefield 3, so it reminds me of that. This is like a huge map. There's a lot going on.
A lot of icons, info overload.
Yeah, in 2010, this would have never worked because everybody was like,
it was ahead of its time.
Fast pace, But if you think about it, this is similar to like Fortnite or Warzone now, where there's so much going on.
There's a game called Squad.
Would have been good now.
There's a game called Squad where it is actually emulating the big tactical world, and I think that one's had its own success. I don't know how successful, but I do know people still kind of play that. MAG, I think, was a little ahead of its time, which hurt it in the long run.
Yeah, this looks good, but I feel like it's just not in the right time.
This was during like the peak of Call of Duty, you know?
Yeah.
Right. That's what I was saying. Like, I think the culture change, where this was like just this was the era of Call of Duties and Halos, the fast-paced first-person shooters, and people didn't have the reserves to play this. And unfortunately, because Socom was already niche, it just couldn't flourish. I think that was sort of its downfall. I think if this came out today with modern graphics, modern gameplay, etc., coding, I think this would pop off for the Battlefield players. Maybe even like the CS:GO players.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, the graphics are don't even look that bad. So if you just polish the graphics and like literally just re-release this game as is, I think it probably would have had some success on Steam. But it is a shame that was and Socom had like a lot of history behind it. I never played it, but I know of it, and like the super tactical history and like the old PS2 Online. It's a shame that it just went out like that. You know, it tried, but
feels bad.
Not good. So all right, so that was a strong opener. Now Death Row, do you have one you want to throw at us? Dead or obscure game.
I've brought this up before on the stream, and this is not a dead game, but it's something you'll never be able to play again. So I'm a big Fortnite
I think
player,
that constitutes as dead. It's not dead, but you can never play
it.
All right, what is it?
All right, so I am sharing my screen here.
There you go.
So this
Fortnite.
So this is Fortnite Season 1. Now, the thing is, you can still play Fortnite, but every season's different. You'll never be able to play like the game as it was
the
once.
vanilla, the original.
Yeah. And you're gonna see it here in a second. This guy is kind of funny because look, he fights, he doesn't build at all. Like everything was different, right? The guns were different. The this guy just runs.
That's a good point.
Build anything. So like even the style of gameplay was completely different. So I mean, you could do this for many different games, Warzone, Fortnite. Right. But for me,
World of Warcraft, they were shutting down the old vanilla servers. I remember this.
Yeah. So like, just look how different this guy plays. It's kind of funny. Like if you were to play today, it would just be a bunch of people building.
It's like way more high action, jumping around.
So yeah,
this guy's like hiding. This guy's hiding.
Corner camping. Yeah.
So you're saying the culture of season 1 Fortnite is dead?
Well, no. I mean, even the guns are different. So since like I want to say like season 2 of Fortnite, they've changed the shotguns so that they're really powerful now. But back then the shotguns weren't even that powerful. You really wanted
like be right up on their face, right?
This was the ultimate gun of the game. You wanted the SCAR, and the sniper rifle. But now everything in the game is shotguns and building. It's just the game has completely changed. Even the maps are different. So like the map today is nothing even remotely close to this map.
Does Fortnite not have an old like season 1 like legacy servers? I don't know.
No, there's no way to do that, which is what I'm saying. Like that's why to me it really is upsetting that it's dead. Like I would love to play this version of the game because you know, this had no healing items. It didn't have like crazy shield items like it has today.
Yeah, I feel like with a game like Fortnite, it's popular enough that they probably would have a decent population in legacy servers if they were to do that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a classic WoW versus
right. Now. And I mean, as the stream knows, I play a lot of League of Legends. You can never play the old League of Legends like patches, you know? Like it's just you're stuck on these newer patches and it sucks. Yeah, I mean, I find this funny because he's drinking a potion here, a shield potion, and like he's not even full shield because that's all they had. They didn't have these mini potions. They didn't have other ways of healing your shield. So it's really funny to see this and how different the game is today.
Old versions of games, yeah. It is a big.
Yeah, that's a whole nother top. Yeah, that's actually I didn't really think of that though, but Hey Ness, let us know if you have any obscure or dead games, Ness. But yeah, like I that reminded me. I never got too into RuneScape. I did play for a bit when I was young because it was like the easiest game to play. That had a big legacy server culture because the RuneScape now is totally different than what it used to be. And Ness brought up one, Tribes of Sand. That's another one I know about. I vaguely know that the developers got kind of annoyed at how the community was playing Tribes of Sand. But if you know more about that, feel free to hop in and explain it.
That's that's a good one. Tribes Ascend. When I first got my gaming PC, that was the first game I downloaded actually.
Yeah, isn't Tribes dead now? Is it dead?
All of them are. Even I used to play Tribes Aerial Assault. That one's also dead. That was actually a game I was going to bring up in a little bit, but
what the heck is Tribes? I don't know what that is.
It's
that a game? It's a skiing. It was about like going building momentum and like skiing, right? That was like the main selling point of that game, right?
Is it skiing or a shooter?
Yeah, it's a shooter.
Shooting.
I think what GK is talking about is the momentum part of it. There is a lot of momentum because there's like low gravity, so you kind of can jump really high and kind of have a lot of momentum. So I think that's what he's talking about. But
okay.
It's a shooter with crazy momentum. Yeah, I remember that. Like people, I think it looked like skiing. So that's an interesting one.
You know, like any shooter pre Call of Duty days is a good time. You know, a good thing to talk about. But
shooter with crazy momentum tech. Yeah, Apex Legends has a lot of momentum and movement base, so I can kind of understand that concept. I was going to quickly say about Fortnite. I'm not much of a Fortnite player at all. I've played probably 5 games tops. But when I did play it season 1, just to try it, because, you know, it was like the big thing, I'm kind of like what Death Row said. Like, I thought it was cool, actually. And I played a couple games. And then I stopped playing, you know, because I wanted to try it. And I tried it, like, I don't know, like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And it's not the same. I started fighting someone, and, like, they built the Taj Mahal in, like, 5 seconds. I was like, nope, I'm gone. I'm done.
Oh, man.
I'm done.
That's why I never got into Fortnite. I hated that building.
The way people play is different, yeah.
The meta, different,
different. Yeah.
I was not interested in that. So, but like, it's obviously popular. It's obviously successful. So it goes for a crowd of a different type. That's not like me, but hey, power to them.
I'm gonna talk about one more that's like super similar to this.
Yeah.
So does anybody remember this game? This came out the same time as Fortnite, actually. It was a competitor.
Oh.
Paragon.
Paragon.
I don't remember this.
The version from Epic Games.
This is gonna. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, this actually I don't even think got past beta phase. This never was released.
Oh really? I've never heard of this.
They just shut it down, but this was a ton of fun. I mean, look at this gameplay. It's actually pretty lively. I played it in the beta phase, but
I can see the Fortnite analog in this with like more.
It's a MOBA
futuristic look.
It's
MOBA.
Also a shooter.
A shooter. So it's not like the League or the Dota MOBA where it's like a top down and you have like.
No.
It's actually more like a third person shooter. Okay.
Yeah, it was like I don't know how to even describe it. It's kind of like League of Legends, but like third person, but I don't know. It's tough to just explain.
Here, so to me, my explanation of Paragon is it took the MOBA archetype of having like 3 lanes and like a core and towers, but then it had the mechanics of a third-person shooter with powers. So picture like Overwatch in third person in a League of Legends map.
Yes, that's the best.
That is Paragon.
Yep.
That is Paragon. You have shooter heroes with powers, but you're in third person on a MOBA map. It was so fucking fun, and like I really wish it was still a thing because I was really into it when the beta and the alpha and all that came out, and I used to play jungle, and I was a Kalari main, the little assassin ninja you saw in the video there with like the black robot outfit, and that game was a lot of fun.
This one slipped under my radar totally, and I don't even remember.
The fact that you even remember the name of who you played, it just shows it stuck with you because it never got past beta phase. It was only out for I think the summer, and that's it. So,
damn, Flash in the Pan. Which, speaking of Flash in the Pan, if I may bring up one as well, and you'll know this one, Death Row. Because I got into the closed beta as well. If I gotta find some damn gameplay of it. All right. So let me share my screen. Does anyone? I think this one's pretty notable. Evolve. Does anyone remember that?
Oh, is that the monster, right?
Yeah, it's basically a boss battle. It is a 1v4 game. And I got into the closed beta, and I thought it was so much fun. I was huge in Left 4 Dead, and one of the biggest showcases of Left 4 Dead was a battle with what they call a tank, where one of the players will take control of this super buff, tough enemy that can take a lot of damage and do a lot of damage, but it was only occasional. This game was billed as sort of like the entire game was a tank fight. You have a bunch of classes of hunters, as they were called, different abilities, and they had different characters of each type, like a trapper, assault, support, medic, and of course they had the monsters with different abilities. And it was a big game of cat and mouse where the monsters started off weak and would actually get stronger based like as the game went on. So the hunters would go super aggro, try to find the thing, and the monster would try to hide. Then as the monster got stronger, it flipped, where the monster would go on the offensive and could kill the hunter team, and they would have to be careful and like try to position themselves in a place where they wouldn't, just get totally wrecked. And it was so much fun. The game was killed due to the incompetence of the publisher, which I think was 2K, where it was a $60 game. It was not free to play, but they nickel and dimed you for so much. They opened with season passes, with like skins, cosmetics, all the costing like $5 a pop, and they did little to fix some of the issues of the game, some of the balancing issues, and they basically deprioritized that and were pushing the stuff they were selling. And as a result, the community started to dwindle. They wouldn't come back because they wouldn't fix the issues. They tried to remedy this with something they called Evolve Phase 2, which was free to play. But at that point, it was too little too late. The game died with a whimper. and it was good when it came out. It was good during the beta, and it just got worse, and it died a such a pathetic death, and it was such a great idea that they ruined. Oh man, and I thought this game was going to be the game when I got into the closed beta. The closed beta was fine because it was just a beta, but you know, naturally, the beta, a full game does not equate to a beta. You know, it's just, it bums me out so bad.
Yeah, this game always looked good. I'm gonna say this one was also ahead of its time, because if this used the today's like free to play model, but they charged you for skins and stuff, I think it would be a little more successful. The fact that it was $60, I think that's what put people off, you know.
Yeah, $60 plus
all the
there's a term. There's free to play games with, you know, obviously the game is free, but you get nickel and dime, so you expect that. But there's something called fee to pay, where they charge you for the game, $60, and then they throw in those stupid free to play nickel and dime nonsense. It's like they're trying to double dip, and it's a bad look. It's bad PR. And yeah, they ruined it. Oh man. Technically, this game is not dead, because if you have a group of like 5 people, you can do peer-to-peer. You can play this game. Obviously, there's no continued support. If there's any balancing issues or glitches, they're probably not going to get fixed. So it is possible to play this game peer-to-peer if you have people with really good internet living close together. But that's all the game will be a relic. Hey, do you remember that old Evolve game? Let's play a round or two. You know, but in terms of an actual community, it's basically gone.
Was there not an issue of it being like unbalanced though?
Yeah, it was unbalanced, and they were dragging their ass fixing it.
Favorite for monsters, right?
I don't remember exactly. I remember there was one monster that was super strong. Other monsters were very weak, and there was like there was particular hunters that were better than others. I can't remember exactly, but there was balancing issues that they failed to address. Like you can, as a monster, I remember one monster, you can make a clone of itself, and you would spam that. And you would make the clone, you would run away, your clone would fight the hunters, the clone would eventually die, then you go back in, you send another clone, and it was frustrating to play against.
What has 2K made lately?
I have no idea. Are they like
I haven't
the
heard
basketball?
about them in a while.
I thought they went out of business.
I don't know.
Did they? Right, because I haven't heard about them for a long time. Like, where have they been? What have they made recently?
They still have a website.
No idea.
So, nope, they didn't go out of business. They still have a website.
Like, I haven't seen them in the scene in a long time.
Now, they were a developer or a publisher, though?
They were a publisher primarily.
Yeah, they published the Borderlands games. Those were awesome.
Publishers are weird. Like they fund the developer, but yeah. Anyway, I just want to address this, unrelated to the genres you said, but I remember Spore having some sick ideas and delivering on none of them. Oh, well, I've never got into Spore, but I remember how it was like built as this big god game with like a lot you could do. Did they like never deliver on that? I honestly don't know. Did the game fizzle out too?
Yeah, I remember that a long time ago, but it sort of was just a drop of a rock in a pond. It just made a little splash, and then that's it. It was pretty unremarkable. I could barely remember it. Like, it's not like Mag or something like that, where like it had a nice lasting impression on, you know, where it just didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't my kind of game, but I remember it being like a notable idea, like new technology. Like this game could not exist in the prior generation. Cool idea.
So I had an idea.
I think super promising beta, nothing notable
concept. You sort of brought it up, GK, where you talked about how the game sort of died, and then they did that season 2. You were saying of like a free to play.
Evolve.
It.
They tried, but they failed.
Now, here's a question or proposition: do you think games are capable of having redemption arcs?
Yes.
Successfully, and if so, what's the point of no return? Because like you have games like what's that one game that's like the biggest redemption arc of all time? What's the name of that game? The space one? What's the name of that space game?
No Man's Sky?
No Man's Sky, right? Like that's probably like, to me, the biggest redemption arc of all time.
That was a big joke at first. Like, it was like a joke at first.
You know what I mean? Like that made me like inspired. Like, holy crap, these guys launched, it went terribly. People like, can we curse on this?
Yeah.
People shitted on them, and like everyone ridiculed them. You know, like they were like the original Cyberpunk. You know what I'm saying? And like,
speaking of redemption arc, is that possible?
We could talk about that later. But then like they have like the hero comeback story. They're like, nah, dude, we'll be back. And like, what was
they
it? Like
admitted they were wrong.
2 years, right? Like they manned up. Like a year and a half, 2 years later, boom, here's our new product. We delivered on XYZ. Here's this, here's that. And like I was like, wow, that like really, I was really happy for them.
Yeah, but so can you think of any other game that's done that?
No,
not to that scale. That's like the biggest one. I guess a sort of softer example would be Fall Guys. That game was never dead or really dying, but it had a lull because when it launched was very basic. But it came back. A game that this could happen for, Knockout City. Does anyone remember that?
Knockout City, yeah. So that was on
I'm waiting
list.
for its resurgence.
That made me sad because that was actually fun. I think it fizzled out really, unfortunately.
Do you think it could come back?
Possibly. It might have an Among Us effect. So that was another conversation I want to have on today's culture and how sort of it seems to be very do or die. It's very extreme lately, where like if it doesn't make a giant splash, I feel like it just fizzles out. And I think part of that has to do with the Twitch culture, the YouTube culture, just the influencer culture.
A streamer bait, fast pace, like action looks good, flashy.
If it's not streamable or if it's not good for viewing, I feel like it's not successful nowadays. If it's not a safe game, if it's not a Fortnite, if it's not a Call of Duty. You know, if it's obscure in any way or if it takes any risk and it's not good for watching and entertainment, I feel like it unfortunately fizzes out, you know? And that's sort of unfortunate. Like you have these games like Phasmophobia and Among Us, right? They're awesome for streaming. They're awesome for co-play. And like we're sort of in this meta, if you will, of party games, of stream games, where if it's not stream games,
that's a good way to put it.
Can't watch it. Right. It's not going to be successful, which like, okay, sure. Like, actually, I'm kind of for that. I'm kind of for that in the same way where like, it reminds me of like the same feeling of when you used to play with your boys on the couch. So like, cool. I like that. But then it's like, what if it's not that sort of game? What about your God of Wars, your Legends of Zeldas, your, whatever, your single player games, your like, what happens to those sort of games? Are those not, or those things of the past?
I don't know. They're not gone, but I feel like there's less good single player experiences.
Exactly.
Because I feel like a lot of game developers are going towards the game as a service model. They want a game to continually generate money for them. Ness brought up an interesting one. Final Fantasy MMO, I believe Final Fantasy 11. That was I watched a video from Pro Jared that explained this. I don't remember. There's 2 MMOs, an older one and then a newer one.
There is 2, yeah, 11 and 14.
Yeah, 11 was the older one. I saw a video of someone explaining to me. It was super brutal back then, like very niche, and it was a pain in the ass to play. And now they took the servers. Fans, I think, took the servers, made their own servers, and fixed it a little bit, modded it, and made it kind of playable. So it was that one's interesting. That one's like the community resurrecting the game, not so much continued support from Square Enix. I doubt that they would care about those old games because it's not making them money.
Can you think of a game that's been resurrected by its community?
I can. Well, no, not by the community. It was by YouTube. If anybody remembers Skate 3, it was a game that got terrible reviews at first. It was
Melee. Ness just brought up a great one. Smash Brothers Melee is a big one.
Oh yeah, that's another one. But if you remember Skate 3, the YouTubers like all of a sudden, like years down the road, because I think it came out in like 2013. Years down the road, you had all the YouTubers playing it because of like the crazy stuff you could do in it, and they even started making new copies again. That was hilarious. Like a game that was like over, I think 4 years old, they started making new copies again to sell it.
Oh man, yeah. That's like a whole nother conversation. Games being resurrected. Games that have a passionate community.
WoW Classic.
But we alluded to that before. There was I think the WoW Classic was the official. I forget the name. Who made WoW? I can't remember. I'm blanking.
Blizzard.
But Blizzard
That's
made
another
WoW Classic,
conversation.
official. But before WoW Classic, the community had, I think, vanilla servers or legacy. I don't remember what they called them. But Blizzard went out of their way to try to shut these down, which is really like you're going against your own community, the people that built up your game. Like leave them alone.
Yeah, the OGs. Yeah, that's weird. That's yeah. Can we talk about that?
Which one?
Who's more important? The sort of core OGs that were there and are now like sort of like the obscure sort of hardcore like you know, typically when you have games like, for example, Apex Legends, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been there since week 1. My friend introduced me to it. I fell in love instantly. It's everything I want. Momentum, speed, first person shooter, the works. Like to me that game is perfection in terms of like mechanics. Obviously it has its flaws, but nowadays it's gotten to a point where it feels like it's appealing to a certain audience, and maybe let me not just use Apex, but like games in general seem to be doing that. Competitive games, Call of Duty, Warzone, Fortnite, etc., where it seems to appeal more towards the broad general casual audience instead of the competitive hardcore like original players. Who do you think is more important? Or rather, who do you prioritize? Do you prioritize the casual players, which is probably the majority of your audience? Or do you prioritize the people who've been there supporting you and are the reason why you are here today? Like, I don't know. You have to
It's balancing. It's a tough balancing act.
I think a company is going to pick the
profitable, which is the casual, because there's way more casual people who will drop their money compared to the niche hardcore. That's only so many people. But the thing is, the niche hardcore game is the thing that continually generates hype for the game, that keeps it. There's some interest. It keeps it on the map. Like if there's like Melee, for example, like they do sort of bring in occasionally casual people, and you're like as Nes just said, you're either gonna be competitive and niche and have lasting power, or you'll be generalist and appeal to everyone and have no lasting power. That's true. And I feel like a lot of companies are short-sighted. They don't really think ahead. They want to appeal to the masses, and the masses lose interest, and then they dump their old project and go for something new. But they don't want to like think about the lasting power of some of these games.
Right. I think what he said is generally true. There are obviously some caveats to that, because if you look at things like,
it's always exceptions.
I play Rainbow Six Siege. Rainbow Six Siege is very niche, it's all about competitive. It's very
that's a game that was also very different when it launched.
Right. Very hardcore, very competitive. It's like very much caters to like the pro players, you know, the highest ranked players. And obviously it's not as popular as Call of Duty, etc. But it has a very good competitive scene. It's still thriving to this day. But then you have things like Overwatch, which just flips that, right? It started competitive. Overwatch League was incredibly popular, incredibly successful on Twitch. You know, even had things like appearances like DJ Khaled headlighting, you know, introduction shows. Like it was extremely popular. And then it switched to YouTube, and then it started going for casual, and it started releasing characters like Brigitte, who was like a really big point of contention for those of you who play Overwatch. You know what I'm talking about. She was like a very casual friendly player who like was very anti-skill. Like basically Brigitte was this character. She was extremely easy. She was a support that was easy to play. And one of her main abilities was a stun. And so, like, she was very anti-fast movement. She slowed the game down, and that sort of introduced this new meta of, like, casual play.
A casual, friendly strategy.
Right, and people really hated that. And, you know, there was a lot of controversy with that. And so now
I'd assume that she's easy to play as, like the hardcore people who hones their skill, their craft, that someone with a very easy strategy can counter it. Yeah, I can see that the issue in that.
Right, so like you have like your Genjis or Tracers, etc., your Pharahs, or really high skill level, skill ceiling like DPS characters, and she easily counters them. Like literally a press of a button, and she like aims right at them with a shield bash and stuns them for like a second. And she has this mace that like flails in like an AoE cone in front of her and instantly smacks them for damage. So like she's super anti like those kind of players, right? And so it introduced this culture of like casual play in Overwatch, which people were really upset about. And so it created a divide.
I think there's like a sort of a business decision tied behind that. As you know, Ness just put it, you're gonna have folks who join because she's easy, and they won't stay for long, and you're eroding your competitive community. I think it's because the competitive community, the business, the suits looked at it and says, hey, people who want to get into this are going to get scared away because they're going to get their asses beat. We need to introduce a character with training wheels, so to speak, so that way they can feel empowered and compete. But at the same time, they don't realize that the people who stuck with the game for the competitive element, they're going to get annoyed by this. The game's no longer competitive. It's no longer what it used to be. It's now like casual friendly, and they're going to lose probably the people who kept generating hype for the game to introduce a short-term boost of like just basically try to get a last bit of money out of people. But they don't realize that in the long term, they're going to lose people and probably lose money if they like to think a few like steps ahead in these kinds of things. That's my assumption anyway in their decision making.
I see that, and I look at like games like Fortnite, which it's like completely the opposite, right? It's like they were competitive, then they moved to a
super casual. I feel like I never played it. It just feels casual.
I don't feel like they really lost any players in that move. You know what I mean?
Oh
like,
no,
they perfected going after the casual crowd. Yeah, the competitive community may be totally gone, but they survive on their massive casual audience. They figured it out.
There's still the competitive scene on like YouTube. I mean, sure, it's not in like, you know, gaming leagues and stuff like that, but you know, there's still like the YouTubers and Twitch players that are competitive. At least they were at least a year ago.
And also Ness brings up another good point. Some games make good spectator sports, but don't have as broad of a community. I like streamer bait games, or you know, games that look good on the stream.
CS:GO is a good game like that.
Yeah,
great to watch, but
very dry to play.
Fortnite, I don't remember how the phrase goes, where it's like the exception to the rule, but not the rule of exception, something like that. But Fortnite,
the exception that proves the rule.
Yeah.
Right. Fortnite is definitely one of those where it's like it's sort of on its own league, where it's so gigantically popular because of streamers. Though I'd say people like Ninja.
Oh yeah.
Are what made that game become so mainstream to the point where like it's too big to fail almost. Like, because it's meant to be
feedback loop. It's so popular, it's put in front of everyone's face that they have a constant stream of probably new players, and they have events to keep people in and invested. So
you can't be upset with it being casual because it's meant to be casual. Like you can't be mad at a car show for showing off cars. Like, you know?
Yeah, that game serves a very particular purpose, and it's good at that.
It is good at it. Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Very good.
So I want to bring up some low key. Well, I don't know if anyone remembers this one. Does anyone remember Guns of Icarus? Because this was a game I liked. I wanted to like play it more, but I never had the chance to because I didn't really have a dedicated crew to play with. This game required you to have a crew. So the way the game worked is that it is a team. Like, well, there's some objectives, but it's people are on floating ships, and you're part of a crew to man this ship. Either you're a pilot, you're a gunner, or you're an engineer, and you have to shoot down and destroy the other ships or complete certain objectives. And you would have 2 or 3 ships, or sometimes 4 ships, battle each other, each with their own crew. So all of the crews or all of the captains have to coordinate with the other captains to like position yourself. But then each of the crew has to deal with their own ship to keep it running. Like, if something gets damaged, the engineer has to fix it. If you're the pilot, you're going to have to get out of the danger zone and all that. If, like, your engine's destroyed, maybe the captain has to run and help the engineer fix the engine so you can actually get out. And, of course, the gunners are going to do what they're going to do, shoot. You can also customize the what's it called, the ship as a captain, like, with particular guns. Like, do you want, like, a machine gun, or do you want like a mortar shot, or do you want a flamethrower? And it had a lot of great ideas, but slowly but surely they had a big YouTube push with this game. They had big events with YouTubers like in crews fighting other YouTube crews, but slowly but surely the game started to die. And I don't know if it was because they made bad decisions or the game just died a natural death. I don't know, but I loved the idea of this game, and it's it's just gone now, and it's a damn shame. They tried relaunching, they tried rebranding, but you know, I just don't know. It was such a cool idea, and it's just gone. I think there's probably a small niche community, or there could be none. I haven't looked into it in a while. It would be very hard to get people to play with you because you need you basically need a minimum of like 8 people, 4v4 for one.
What console is this on?
Looks like it's on PlayStation. I think games like this are part of sort of a niche.
Sorry about that.
Crowd.
Yeah,
it
was
culture.
It was a niche interest, and they tried to push it in the mainstream. And it just, I think it had a little bit of like a popular appeal, but it didn't last, which is, you know, a damn shame. But it was on PC, and as this trailer shows, it was on the PlayStation. I think it may have been on the Xbox, but it might not have. Don't quote me on that. I don't think it had crossplay. Crossplay, I think, would have helped.
I feel like you have to be really into this. Like this is not a generic thing. This is like very
very niche.
It is niche. It was a niche thing that they tried to like get in mainstream, but it just didn't have the mainstream appeal.
It looks good though. But, I mean, it looks good.
But it's the niche things. The thing about niche cultures is that they're very thriving over the long term if you do it right. You know, because you have games like this that are similar, like World of Tanks, War Thunder, etc. Those sort of like vehicle versus vehicle combat games, or even to a certain extent, Sea of Thieves is kind of similar, you know, in the same vein, but they're very niche. They're not that popular, and unfortunately, some of them, I think, most of them will probably fail before they succeed, in the long term.
Yeah, I don't know if this game, like, I don't know if this game was like out now, if it would success. I still this idea I think maybe too niche. I don't know. I wanted this one to succeed, but it didn't. You know,
games
and
like
it's
War Thunder and World
shame.
of Tanks are still thriving till this day, and they're similar. They're vehicle versus vehicle combat mostly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but it was. I think it was more easy for people to grasp. You man your own tank. It's not like you're each person in a tank crew. This game is like you were basically one person in a crew on a ship, and then you fight other ships, and it was a little bit harder of a concept for people to fully understand or to like coordinate.
Well, with World of Tanks, how many times you watch a YouTube video and they're like, "This episode is sponsored by World of Tanks." They do a lot of advertising.
Yeah, they have money to keep doing that. Guns of Icarus, I think, was more of an indie labor of love. They didn't have the means to do that. They tried with the YouTuber push, and that's where I found out about the game. Was like from a bunch of YouTubers I watched were like competing against other YouTubers, and I thought, oh wow, like they all organized to do it. You know, maybe this game will have a future. They have the budget for it. But I think that was they blew their budget on that, and it was. Which
goes back to the culture of our games streamer friendly. Our games, you know, watchable. Yeah.
Oh, Alex brought up Twisted Metal. Would that be considered a dead game? When was the last Twisted Metal that came out?
2013. 2013 on PS3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that? Didn't that one flop?
Servers are shut. I'm pretty sure that's multiplayer only. There's no single player, and the servers are shut down, so you can't play it anymore.
Vehicular combat's a fun idea.
It's so good. Yeah.
I do like vehicle combat games. Once in a while, it could be fun. I think
depends on how they make it.
To me, are more fun in like arcades. You know, a nice casual quick play. I don't see myself playing that on my own time. You know, at home. To be honest, it's not.
It's a game that appeals to like casual people. It doesn't seem like you need. I mean, there are people who are really good at the game and have. It's easy to pick up, and there's also a high skill ceiling, so it definitely helps. Alex is informing us that it flopped. You can play like you can play as like 3 characters. It was wasn't that the one that they introduced helicopters? That one looked kind of cool. I never had a PlayStation, so I never played it.
Because I mean, technically, if you want to get technical, what's that vehicle soccer game?
Rocket League.
Rocket League.
That's not vehicle. That's weird. That's not vehicular combat. That's a weird. Its own category. It's a fusion of sports plus sports.
You can kill each other. You can kill each other. You can. That's combat.
But they also have the budget to advertise in a lot of places.
More advertising.
If I want to, I can hit the ball or I can kill someone. So technically, it's sports combat.
Yeah, and Ness brought up a game called Blur. I do not. Does anyone know what that is? I
don't
know what
Blur is. I was actually going to bring this up as one of my games, obscure games, because nobody really played that. That was so fun. It was just like Twisted Metal. It was very similar.
Blur, never heard
really?
of it.
Yeah, that was on the 360.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was not a popular game, but that was super fun.
Mario Kart style racing, except real cars. Was that in reference to what's this called? The Rocket League or Blur?
I think he's talking about Blur.
Oh, Blur. Yeah, Blur. Yeah, and that's just confirmed. Yeah, Blur. I'll have to look in like Blur game.
Used a lot of neon lights too, so like kept your attention.
I don't think.
Oh
my
yeah,
opinion,
okay.
Generally,
I remember advertisements for this.
There's a lot of successful, I would say, Xbox indie games. Like when I think of indie
it wasn't
games
indie friendly.
I think of PlayStation games that are like blow up. PlayStation seems to be like the home for indie games. I never really think of Xbox when it comes to successful indie games.
Yeah, I think I don't remember. I think Sony had a thing where you can contact them to have your indie game on the PlayStation. Xbox did not have that until near the end of the 360 life cycle, where they had the
Sony
XBLA push. Yeah,
early
Xbox 360 was all mainstream, little indie support.
Castle Miner. I have no idea what that is.
Castle
Miner? My chat said Castle Miner.
That's similar to what's this called, Minecraft. I actually owned that one. They added stuff to it, and I left before they added stuff to it. And Alex is bringing up, you know what game died too fast? Tomb Raider 2013. Wait, Tomb Raider had multiplayer? I didn't even know.
I didn't even know that.
It was a good multiplayer, but no one used it, and the servers dried up fast. What the hell is the Tomb Raider multiplayer?
Very Uncharted-like. Very Uncharted-like.
I feel like
I can see that
every single.
If you ever played Uncharted multiplayer, it's very similar.
I feel like those kinds of games, they sort of tack on the multiplayer without like the idea of lasting appeal.
Assassin's Creed had a multiplayer.
It
didn't last
dude,
long.
Assassin's Creed.
It was fun. I love Brotherhood multiplayer.
Wait, you brought up another game on my list. Does anyone know what Murderous Pursuit is?
Nope.
Murderous Pursuit. It is when Assassin's Creed multiplayer died. A dev team made a game called Murderous Pursuit, where they made a game focused on the concept of the Assassin's Creed multiplayer. Let me get the video out. It is there is clones of your character. You have to find your target. Someone, your killer has to find you. You blend in with the crowd. And this game, I don't know if it's dead, but I hear very little about it now. And it was, it was just it took the Assassin's Creed, and you can change what you looked like as well. You had to like really try to.
So familiar.
Yes, and I think I don't remember if it's free on Steam or if I just got it on a free promo, but yeah, it was all about like trying to like track your target, splendid, look like an AI, do not look like a player. This was a fun game, and this was the spiritual successor to the Assassin's Creed game. And yeah, Alex just brought up another game I was going to bring up, is The Ship. The Ship was similar to that, but was a little more, well, it had a different feel to it. Let me see. The Ship.
What's crazy
game.
is that looks like if it came out this year or last year, it would pop off, because that immediately gave me Among Us sort of vibes. Like something very easy. If it was simplified a little easier on the eyes, a little more streamlined, I think that would pop off, because it's like mystery, murder, party sort of vibes.
And The Ship is a similar game, but this one, instead of like, the thing is, the game was full of this game, I don't remember if it had bots, but the main mode is that it was nothing but players. You had a big ship with a lot of players, ideally. There was a remaster and there was an original. And every player you see around you has like their own, like they have their own look, their own clothes. They have their own target and their own hunter. You can't kill random people because you'll lose, or you'll lose points or something like that. So the game would tell you what location your target is, but you don't necessarily know what they look like. You have to walk up to people and investigate them or like inspect them. And then if it is your target, your game will tell you this is your target. Sometimes you'll inspect people, it's your target, but you don't want to like pull your weapon out right away. You would like walk away and find the right moment, because the game was heavily on the points system. So you get more points for killing with certain weapons. If you use a gun, typically you get less points because it's easy to kill someone with a gun. You take like a weak melee weapon, you kill them with a weak melee weapon, then oh, that was a terrible trailer. You would I'm trying to find random gameplay, but yeah, you would also have stats to worry about as you play the game. You can change your clothes. God damn it, all right, you can change your clothes. You can change your look in case your murderer inspected you. If you like run away and then change your clothes, they may not recognize where you are. And the game has a lot of stuff to inspect. That you have to worry about your hunger. You have to worry about needing to go to the bathroom. So if you have to take a mean shit, you run into the bathroom. While you're doing that, you are vulnerable. And I remember I didn't play the game much, but one of my personal favorite kills in the game, there are security guards. You can't pull out a weapon in like the main foyer or like the caf.
Right.
You would have to leave the cafeteria and then kill people. So I was tracking the person I was supposed to kill. They screwed up. They got arrested, and if they get arrested, they go into a jail, which you lose all your items. But in the jail, you can actually find stuff. So my target got arrested, and I was like, oh, he'll be in there for a few minutes. I immediately let myself get arrested. I pulled out a gun in front of the guard. I was in my jail with the person I wanted to kill. So then I very casually went to a bunch of cells, looking through the beds and the cabinets, and I found a shiv. I was like, oh, perfect. In the jail, you're not being watched. You are alone. So I grabbed the shiv. I just ran up to the person, and I just shanked them, and I got the kill. And that was a proud moment for myself. Nice. But yeah, so I think there are still dedicated communities. This game was a lot of fun. It's similar to Murderous Pursuit and the Assassin's Creed game, but this one is like all players, no AIs. I think they have a version with bots, but that's not as fun. I played on servers that had like over like 30 people, and the ship was full of people. Everyone was like eyeing each other, super paranoid, and it was a lot of fun. And it has sort of like, I don't know. It felt like you were in a reality show almost in a good way. I mean, but that was
it gives me the vibes of that one PC game. I can't remember, where you're like a sniper on a roof and you have to find the thief or whatever.
That person died. Yeah.
I can't remember the name of that game. I think this would pop off if it wasn't so complicated.
I was gonna say looks complicated. Among Us is so simple.
When you get into the game, like Murderous Pursuit was pick up and play. This one, I feel they have a tutorial, but it does kind of like, because there's a lot of like stats you're looking at. There's like, you have like a if you see on the top left, that is your target. I'm pretty sure. I might be misremembering that. And it tells you where they are. You have to know the map. You have to look at the map and see the area and all that. So, see, this person's taking a shower because you have to worry about your cleanliness. And look at all the meters. Shower. So it does sort of intimidate like more casual people. But I felt like you play a game or two, you jump in a random game, you're probably gonna lose. But I feel like when you know what you're doing, the game becomes intense very quickly.
This reminds me of like one of your board games that has way too many rules to it.
Yeah.
Oh, please. Oh,
exactly
please.
What I was thinking, dude.
This is a good one, though.
Showed us that one game, dude. Oh, my God.
Occasionally, like a big YouTuber, big personality will host a game of this. And it would get, because I think they do still have servers, or I don't know if they do peer-to-peer. But it's still possible to play this, but it's nowhere. You can't play random games, I don't think. It's very niche now. The ship probably would have caught on more if the survival component wasn't so heavy. Like, keep it, but strip it down a bit. That's a good point. They have hunger, they have food. You have to have money to pay for food. You have to worry about going to the bathroom.
That's a bit much.
It was always dawning on you. If you took care of your hunger and thirst, you were forgetting something else, and you have to run and find a bathroom. But that was a good way to get people out of their comfort zone, to get out of safe zones. They couldn't just stay in the cafeteria with guards around them. But it was very overbearing.
there's probably more simplistic ways to perpetuate motion in terms of like keeping people from just camping in their rooms. Because I think barrier to entry for games is a big factor. I mean, it's always been a big factor, but especially nowadays, to whether or not it's going to be successful. If you look at games, for example, like For Honor, which is a niche game nowadays, the barrier to entry of that game is extremely high. Like, it's very hard to learn because it's complicated with the mechanics of the control system of that game. But once you learn it, oh my god, is it fun. So if it's too high for barrier to entry for that game, I think it's, unfortunately, if it's too niche, you're setting yourself up for not taking off, not being the next Among Us.
I mean, you bring up Among Us. Among Us was super simple and to the point, and that's where it sort of blew up. The ship, complicated, and oh man, I there's so many games I wish were popular that I liked. I wish more people liked the games I liked more. Damn it.
While complicated, obviously allows for more depth, it unfortunately, it makes it harder to start. But the thing is, to be honest, when you look at games like Among Us, yes, it's simple. Yes, it's extremely streamer friendly. But I don't know.
Yeah, skill floor. That's a big thing.
Right, skill floor. I don't think there's anything, like, no offense, not trying to like take away from success of Among Us, but I'm just using that as an example because, I like to look at just the culture and the gaming industry as a whole. I don't think there's anything particular. I don't think Among Us has an X factor that made that game specifically pop off. I think
it was in the right place at the right time.
Right, like, because I know a little bit behind the history of that game because of streamers like Soda Poppin, Miss Kiff, and other members of his circle group, XQC and things like that. And then you have YouTubers like Jacksepticeye, PewDiePie, etc. Markiplier. They made that game popular. Like, streamers, entertainers made the game popular because it was out long before it became popular.
I think
like 2 years.
People forgot about it.
So
it was by the Henry Stickmin creator.
Right. So I'm not trying to disrespect the developers. It's a great game for what it is, but I don't think there was any X factor particular about that game. I just think it was at the right place, right time. And it fit the bill. Sure. Simple and easy and streamable. So
Yeah, and it's a shame. I found a game called Goose Goose Duck, which is an Among Us ripoff, but they added complex roles and like unique elements in maps, and I thought it makes for more complex games. Like, do you know how like you have a hunch someone's an imposter and you just vote them out on a whim? Goose Goose Duck has a great role. Like, it's basically if you know what Mafia is, they have like a Joker role. There is a role in Goose Goose Duck where if you get voted out, you win and everyone else loses. So you can't just, if someone's acting like a clown, you can't just vote them out just because of that. But at the same time, they could be like one of the imposters that's doing it to sort of make you, and it just makes you like really think in more three-dimensional ways.
Games.
Yeah, mind games. One of my favorite roles is I think it's called the Canadian Duck. If an imposter kills you because you're a good duck, you're one of the good roles. You're a villager, so to speak. If you get killed by the imposter immediately self-reports. So that screws with the. I'm so
guilty. I must turn myself in.
One of my. Yeah, just add a little bit of flavor to it, as I was mentioning. One of my favorite moments in Goose Goose Duck, there were security cams just like in Among Us. I was the Canadian Duck, so if I got killed, it would have been an instant self-report on the imposter. I figured, you know what? This is a good role. I'm just going to commit to security cam watch, and if I die, people will probably know I watch security cams. Right. And guess what happened? I was watching the cams. I got shanked in the back. The person immediately self-reported and was like, oh, I just found him like that. But then people are saying, it's like, wait, no, I saw GK was on the cameras and the cameras were on. And then the self-report immediately happened. You must be the imposter and you must have killed him. And they caught him right then and there. And it was a great moment.
That's the thing with these sort of games, right? Because, I mean, let's be honest. Among Us, I think everyone has played Among Us. It was so popular. I mean, even me and GK had a time where for like a good month or two, we were playing it on a weekly basis. We had like a Discord group and everything.
I want to try to play Goose Goose Duck. I gotta like try to get people in on that.
The problem with these games is that it's so trendy to the point where like, and I keep using Among Us, and I'm not trying to disrespect them, but like,
good example.
They sort of just sit on their success, and then they don't like that guy said earlier. They need to add flavor. They need to iterate on it. Okay, now we got this.
Among
awesome
Us is
model.
adding roles, by the way.
Right.
Not
sure
nearly to
now.
the same level as Goose Goose Duck. There's only like 3 or 4 roles. Goose Goose Duck has many roles, so it's like a lamer version of the ripoff, which I think is superior than Among Us. Goose Goose Duck.
Right.
I prefer that one now.
Like, maybe, I mean, and again, I'm not a developer. In their like, I'm not in their shoes, so like maybe they know a little more in terms of statistics than I do insight. But as a consumer, I'm thinking as a consumer, I want more, right? Like, if this is successful, like, all right, add characters, add roles, like hire a bunch of people, go strike while the iron's hot. Hire a bunch of people, even if it's temporary. Make more maps, make more roles, make more skins, make more everything. Like,
yeah.
Why would you not?
The only thing with that is like, what if people don't like the roles? What if there's the traditional people that...
See, that's what we talked about before, changing the original feel of the game.
Yeah.
Make them optional.
Well,
like,
that's
the
what I'm
roles are
saying. Like,
optional.
can we make 2 different modes? One with roles, one without. Like, you know, so you have the original
I think you can in Goose Goose Duck. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
You can. The person who's in charge of the game can select what roles are in it, and I think they can have a more simple game and takes a lot of the roles out.
Right. If you make it modular, you don't get the Fortnite effect where, like, you know, like Death Row said earlier, where you kind of miss the original version, and now you have things like, you know, Fortnite, for example, in season 1, where it's like PvP, gun versus gun. Now it's like, okay, can I build Empire State Building versus your Taj Mahal? Who wins, right? But with Among Us, maybe you can make it modular where it's like, okay, I only allow XYZ roles: murderer, Joker, and sheriff. You know, I'm using mafia names here. Or I'm using it so it's only murderers and normal people, right? I'm using it so it's only this map, only these 3 maps, only these 5 maps. I don't know. Like, give options. I like options. I don't like having to play. I think that's why I lost my interest in Among Us, is where it got too repetitive. There's only 3 maps. There's only 2 roles.
Yeah.
Eventually,
there's only so many strategies you can do in Among Us.
Right. There's only
at some point it becomes easy to read like what people can possibly do, because there's only so many things you can do in Among Us.
You know, you can go passive. You can go ghost. You can go super aggressive as a killer. You can go super aggressive as a villager. You know, whatever. But then eventually it's like, okay, now what?
And I feel like, Among Us is simple enough where people can start to metagame in that an imposter will like stand by a role and blend in, and then they walk away, and then people will say, hey, wait a minute, I know for a fact that task you were at would take you at least 45 seconds, but you were only there for 30. You're clearly the imposter. That's
exactly.
that is a legit way. That's a legit way to do it, but I feel like it gets too easy to figure that out after a certain point.
Right, and it starts to take the magic out of the situation, if you don't change it up.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah,
stagnant.
Among Us has become stagnant. If I want to try to host a Goose Goose Duck game one of these days, and hopefully you guys can like that. That I think is a far superior game. I only played a couple of games on other people's streams, but I like that, and it is free to play. You do have to deal with a pain in the ass, like you have to make an account for the game. But besides that, the game is free to play. They have cosmetics you can pay for. You can earn the cosmetics through playing in game. It just takes you for fucking ever to unlock anything good. But hey, it's the thought that counts.
Is it on Steam?
Yes, Steam. Goose Goose Duck. It's on Steam.
Maybe a future stream.
Just look up the role list and just see how many interactions you can possibly have in a game, because you can adjust the percentage of what roles appear. Some roles will never appear. One of my personal favorite roles is called the imposter, I think. Wait, no, it's not the imposter. But basically, you know how there's 2 imposters and everyone else is a villager? Yeah. And one of my favorite roles is you're a villager and the other imposter sees you as an imposter. So the imposter sees 3. The imposter just know one of them is not real. The one villager who looks like an imposter does not know who the others are. So the imposters can't meet up. I should mention Goose Goose Duck has VoIP, proximity chat. That's a main thing of the game. So
a villager that pretends to be imposters, but only imposters can see him as the fake one.
And he doesn't know who the other imposters are. He has to sort of figure that out based on how they get talked to. and that one is like that one is a lot. Yeah, but look up a roll list, and we should try to do that one, Rez, at some point. Anyway, we got off to a bit of a tangent on. I mean, it was a good tangent. And I sort of want to try to reel that back into our original topic of obscure dead games we like. So now, can any of you guys think of a single player game that's just obscure that like not too many people know about or have played?
I have one.
Yeah, what do you have?
I don't know how obscure it really was, but I really enjoyed this one. I'm going to share my screen on this one. So does anybody, now they remade this, but it was nothing. The remake was nothing like the original. Does anybody remember Prey? This was for PC
yeah, dude, the original.
Yeah, this was really interesting. He used really like different style guns, and
it had organic, like guns that were made to be organic.
Yeah.
And it had like the gravity wall thing. Like I forget what it was called.
Yep. And you were like shooting like aliens, and I think the main character was like a Native American. Yeah. So he had like some like spirit elements and stuff. It was just
and the new one was nothing like this.
Nothing
like
it.
You got me there. I have no idea what this is.
Well, I guess I guess
this was a launch title for the 360.
Yeah. It had more of a following on the 360.
So the graphics look a little not as good. It for a 360 game, the graphics did not look as good because it was still like it was like a launch title. So
yeah,
right out the gate, there was a little bit of jankiness in how the game played. I recall. I only tried out the demo, so I never played it fully. It had an interesting world, from what I remember, and they were planning a really good sounding sequel where you were like the space was like the Wild West, and you were a bounty hunter. That game got canceled, and we got the new one, Aviva Pinata for NES. I vaguely remember that. That's a very unique game.
Oh,
this gives me a little bit of Doom vibes.
I've been playing Viva
kind of,
recently, actually. That's a launch title for the 360 as well.
That's funny.
This is a good one, I had no idea what that was.
Very hard.
I want to bring one up. Before I do, though, I just want to remind everyone that we probably will be accepting call-ins pretty soon. If any of you have your own anecdotes, either multiplayer games that are dead or obscure single-player games you like. I want to bring up a single-player game that I liked that it's called Pathologic 2 specifically. Does anyone know what that game is?
No, I haven't heard that.
Nope.
So this is a purely single player game. Let me just get up the trailer for this thing. This is a hard game to explain, and that's like the worst kind of things to do. All right, so let me go back. So the trailer doesn't do a great job of portraying what the game is. It's a story dialogue heavy game. It's survival based. Basically, you're in a sort of a town that went through the Industrial Revolution. It is like Victorian, and in the game, a plague starts to spread in the populace. You play as a doctor. You are tasked with finding a cure and treating people of the plague while dealing with like a story around everything and your character's own personal, crap he has to deal with. You have to worry about your own hunger. You have to go to sleep. You have to keep yourself healthy. As you're playing the game, you can avoid ever catching the plague, but it's pretty difficult. You're probably gonna get it. It is, you can find a cure for it, but while you're looking for it, you're gonna have to deal with your own symptoms. The game is pretty damn difficult. You have an inventory system. You have to manage your inventory. You have like a home base where you try to leave what you need but bring with you what you need. The game has a pretty decent economy where usually single player games it's easy to break the economy, but this game, from the one time I played through it, it was hard to be rich. And the game is all time based. You only have a certain amount of time to like figure things out and deal with story like elements to meet with certain people to get through certain points. And the big thing of the game is that all the NPCs, the characters you interact with that have like story related things, almost all of them can die. That you can meet with them, you can give them treatment like immunity boosters so they don't get sick. But every day there's a chance that they could get sick, and every day you have like a roulette of who got sick and who isn't. Every time someone gets sick, you have to treat their sickness. If you don't treat their sickness, they increase their odds of dying. And if they die, you can lose their whole story progression with that particular character. In this game, it is not, I don't think it might be possible, but it's very, very, very difficult to not have some people die and some story threads going on, like going dead. And it's a huge balancing act. You have to worry about yourself. If you take care of other people too much, you'll probably put yourself in a death loop. Every time you die, this is how the game avoids save scumming. Every time you die, you meet with like a sort of a meta character. I would like to say there's like a godlike being or someone who's like a deity almost. Probably not a good way of putting it, but every time you die, or almost every time, he will meet with you and tell you that if you want to continue your game, you're going to have to continue the game at a cost. It starts off small. Like, if you die, you're going to have a permanent reduction in your overall health. You have to go through the rest of the game with less health. You die again. You have less thirst threshold, which means you need more drinks of water. So you will permanently need more water. And you die again, you'll need more food. And it just keeps going on to the point where if you think you're in an unwinnable situation, you can make a deal with him to undo everything and you have max health, max thirst. But he tells you there's a cost. And I don't want to get into spoils, but if you take him up on his deal, you basically lock yourself out of the good ending if you take up his deal.
Was this game was this game
spoiler
originally
for his game?
What was that?
Was this game an alpha? Like, and then they added pieces along the way, or was it?
There was a Pathologic 1, and Pathologic 2 is basically a remake of the original. The original is very rough around the edges. I haven't played it. I saw footage of it. It's very rough. The sequel.
This is single player?
This is a single player only game. It's story. It's dialogue heavy. You have dialogue trees with characters, and so yeah. And I feel like this is a very interesting game. Not too many people. It is. It sort of reminded me of Stalker in a way. Although the combat, there's hand-to-hand combat, as you can see. It's not super good or in-depth. And you can actually buy a gun, but you have to maintain your gun. Every time you shoot your gun, there's a chance it jams. You got to fix your gun up, like every once in a while. You have to find ammo for the gun, which it can be expensive. So you trade having to fight people and injure yourself, or spending money and maintaining your gun. Do you want a hit to your wallet or a hit to your overall health long term? Really good game. Really not for the faint of heart. This is a very niche game, very difficult. There's a lot of random crap you can find that you have to pick up because a lot of that random crap has value. The game is big on trading with random NPCs on the street. You can't give them money. You have to trade item for item. It's a barter system. Yeah, pretty cool system. Sometimes people don't want what you have, and they want particular things. They want food. He doesn't care about like wealth, but like you can trade the best source of resources are children. Children, you can give them stupid crap. Like you can give them marbles, you can give them peanuts, which give you very little subsistence value. But kids like peanuts. You can trade them for good shit. Kids will randomly have bullets to give you, and like, where the hell did you get that, kid?
Here's a bullet.
But yeah,
thanks, kid.
If this game sounds interesting to you, I would recommend it. And they have a very robust, like, there's a lot of like mechanics to the game, like the treating mechanic. Like, it's hard to explain, but if you look at it from this screenshot, like, you have to give them medications that treat different things on the person, and you have to treat them effectively and figure out what's wrong with them by giving them different medications.
Oh, geez,
and like,
am I at work?
It's. You know,
it's
I'm in
the medical field.
Yeah, but it is it might not appeal to everyone, but that's why it's niche. All right, so that was my main one. Do you guys?
You always find these like niche games like this. How do you even find
I just found it randomly on Steam.
Where like you have to change your fucking tire in the game, change your oil. Yeah. Like, and if you don't use the right thread of oil, your car's gonna break down. Like, come on, dude.
Oh yeah, If you give the wrong medication to someone, you can do more harm than good. So you got to know what you got.
That is very true in real life.
And that's true in that, and obviously, but that game is really good. Is that? Do you either of you have another like?
I'm gonna share one more. I mean, this one.
Before you start that,
wait, Rez, what do you got?
Really quick tangent. I got triggered by something in that video that I really hate that video games do. When people block like this. Why? Resident Evil does that too? Why are you blocking with your wrist exposed? And they're blocking blades too. The blade's coming in right at your fucking wrist. You're gonna cut your wrist and bleed out. Why are you blocking like this?
That's a great point.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, that's not how you block. But for people who don't know how to fight, when they see that in a game, it's just an easy indication you're blocking.
I'm blocking.
Dragon Ball Z always does like this, but you know, I always thought
I'm
like
blocking, guys.
Stop an entire like high blast like that.
I'm blocking, guys. Go ahead. I'm blocking.
You have a knife. You're slashing at me. Here are my wrists. To be fair, you can get like armor in that game, I guess, but it's just to sort of give the player the idea that they're blocking. Anyway, that was a funny tangent. So Death Row, you got one?
Oh yeah, there's really not much to talk about. It looks very generic, but to me, this was super fun. This was on the 360. This was like a World War II.
I remember this. This game was fucking garbage. What are you talking about?
No. This game was actually pretty good. It looks
it's so bad generic. It's good. I'll give you. It's one of those so bad it's good games.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Kind of. It felt
like The Room.
Like Medal of Honor. No. This is not The Room bad, but kind of generic. But I mean, at the time there wasn't a ton of first-person shooters. So when this came out,
Nico? Was that Nico from GTA just now?
It did kind of look like it.
A little bit.
But I remember renting this actually, and I thought it was pretty good that I actually bought it.
This game is just to give some background. It's an alternate history, sort of like Man in the High Castle. Germany won World War II, and then they invade and occupy the U.S. And you play some rando who everyone wants to do everything, and you're a random construction worker. I don't know if they ever explain in the game. Maybe you're an ex-soldier or something, but you're super good at everything.
Construction worker, and you get like better as time goes on. But
there's a player character. Hey, everyone, let's have the player character do everything.
Now that I'm watching this,
like Wolfenstein.
Yeah, but you know, the new Wolfenstein games were not out yet. This was like 2008. This was your only way to play World War II stuff on like the 360.
You know what I remember? I remember an interview. I remember an interview with the developers before this game came out, and they were talking about how, you know what, we don't care if like some people, you know, may not like this game, as long as some people have fun with this game. We just want some people to have fun with the game. And I thought that was a big red flag. Oh boy!
Now that I'm watching
all five of you,
it looks really generic. But wow,
it
that was a random loading screen out of the middle of nowhere.
It was just a generic shooter.
Generic, but I don't know. I remember this being so good. I'm gonna have to play it again today. I don't know.
I remember it was bad. I mean, it was like one of those like games you can have fun with because it was like bad. The ragdoll physics are ridiculous. Like, look at that. He just flops over.
Yeah, but that's not what it's about. It's about the fun gameplay. Okay.
What is fun about this, dude? I feel like I'm watching a PowerPoint. I might be having a nostalgia like bias, but I feel like the frame rate's bad. On Nintendo 64 played better than this.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. As usual, Death Row, you have a bad opinion.
I might be a little off with this one. Actually, dude, I'm gonna show one more since this one also in my memory.
That legit looked like a PowerPoint.
In my memory, this is a fantastic game, but now that I'm looking at gameplay, it kind of also looks a little generic.
What's this one? What got a real winner here?
No one's gonna know this one. This is like
what the hell is this?
Alter Echo for PS2.
Alter Echo PS2.
Why does that look familiar? Hold
on. What the fuck is this? Play it.
Well, hang on. I have just a little backstory. So I went into KB Toys as like an 8-year-old, okay, and I was like looking in the bargain bin, and this was $5, and I was like, the cover is kind of cool. Let me check it out. Yeah, a lot of red flags, but I played it and it was really fun. Now the gameplay is so generic on this, but it was like a mix of combat plus platforming. Let me see if I can just get past this is him upgrading. Is
really giving me retro vibes.
You can upgrade your suit. This is like a puzzle you had to solve, so it had puzzle elements. Let me just skip past this, get to some combat.
So it's like a third-person platformer combat.
Yeah, and you can change your suit. You had a gun. Then there was also the ability to crawl on walls. You had a sword.
So almost like, was it a Metroidvania or no? Was it just straight up going through levels?
No, it was straight up. Just go to your next.
Okay.
Point. But
why is his body so small?
You had to string your combos together. because you can change your suit too. You saw him with the gun before, and then he could also transform into like a lizard.
Okay.
This game.
This one's more interesting than the last one. Okay, I'll give you that. This one's more interesting than that stupid generic shooter game.
It looks generic. It looks generic, but this
doesn't look that. This looks different enough. This looks different enough.
This is giving me very janky Spyro the Dragon vibes.
Yes, and maybe that's why I liked it. See, he just fell off the platform. He transforms into the lizard. You can crawl on things.
He has different abilities.
Yeah, you had abilities and stuff. This is with the excitement of it. It was like stringing along combos, but while changing suits. So let's see if he does it. Because you're supposed to like change to your 3 different suits while stringing along combos, and you get like the high score, and which will help you get more abilities and stuff.
Is there like a major story to this, or was it just?
Yeah, it was. The story was really generic. It was like
defeat aliens.
Just bad guy free to play.
Steals your girlfriend. You're trying to save her, kind of thing. So,
okay. Ness brought up a game called Armored Core. I looking at pictures. I don't remember that.
Wasn't Armored Core the one that you had the 2 analog sticks and you would control it? It was like you're a mech.
I don't know. If you wanna call in Ness and explain it, because I looks vaguely familiar, but I do not know. If you want,
yeah, it's the mech game. They actually had a special controller for it. It was kind of.
I have one more.
Wait, was that Armored Core? The one where you had the big like giant controller? No, I think that was a different game.
Am I thinking of a different game?
I think that was a different game where you play as a mech.
This. It's hard to see. Can you see that?
Was that Armored Core?
Do you know, Ness? Am I thinking right here? Here it is.
I've heard of this. Dang. I didn't know the game was Armored Core though.
Yeah. I think I remember that game.
I don't know.
That was a rich person's game because the average person can't get that shit. It was expensive.
But do they really have this for PS1? Something tells me they didn't have this for the first one. Maybe
I think it was a PlayStation 2. I don't know too much about it, but I know of it.
Yeah, I always wanted to try it, but I mean, this is crazy expensive.
I have one more obscure game. It's not a single player game, but it's a game that I wish kind of popped off more, called Hunt. I think it's on PlayStation.
Hunt Showdown?
PC. I don't know if it's called Hunt Showdown. It's just Hunt. It's basically like Western themed Monster Hunter.
Oh,
basically.
Can you like pull up a video and share it? Because I might be thinking of the wrong one.
YouTube. Hunt.
Is this game where you have to you play with other people and you all compete to kill a main target, and after you kill it, other people try to steal it?
And you can fight each other too.
I think that's Hunt Showdown. Is it
called Hunt Showdown? I thought it was just called Hunt.
Look up Hunt Showdown. Tell me if that's it.
Yes.
Okay, that game is.
Yes.
Yeah, that game I think is that game is there's a streamer I know named Sky Was the Limit. He plays that. That game is like has a somewhat of a dedicated community. And you know what? I think let me introduce. Yo, Ness, can you hear us?
Yo, what's up?
Hey, Ness, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
So you wanted to explain to us Armored Core because that name sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't know much about it.
The one that I played was mostly either PS1 or PS2. I can't remember which. And it's kind of like if you've played Custom Robo, it's similar in that you're like building like a mech kind of thing, but it had like really detailed like mech building process. I'd have to look into like what
it's like modular.
Yeah, like oh man, let me just.
You can share a link if you find it on here.
Yeah. The one I'm thinking of, I think, is Armored Core 3, which came out in PS2.
Yeah, this was a full series, wasn't it? And was Armored Core the one with that giant-ass mech controller that was expensive?
That was definitely beyond the point when I was playing it, but it looks like that was for Armored Core 5, I think.
Because that's the most popular one people point to. Like, here's this crazy controller you need for this one game in the series.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember, I definitely just played it on a normal controller. I'm trying to think, sir. Some gameplay.
I was confusing. I thought you guys were talking about Arma, and I got so confused. I was
like, not Arma.
There's no mechs
That's
in
another.
Arma.
That is an obscure game too, but that has its population. Arma is where DayZ came from.
I was so confused. Okay.
Let me see. Yeah, and you you get like money from doing missions basically, and then you can use that money to upgrade your mech. Like get new parts, stuff like that. It's really interesting.
What was
and
the
hard.
most fun part about it? Was it the combat? Was it the controls?
Yeah, I think the controls are kind of tricky, and I don't know. It just like cool as I just feel like conceptually, at the very least, it's just like I love the idea of having like such a like modular ability to like I don't know, like edit every single part of like building something. You get all these like crazy, it's kind of the same reason I like custom robo. It kind of like itches. I mean, scratches that same itch, but it's
you know what makes
really
me
cool.
think is that there's not a whole lot of mech games. I mean, how you play as a mech, as a vehicle. Most mech games, you're just sort of controlling a character that's slightly more sluggish, but not an actual mech vehicle. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's
sure.
not common.
Well,
I mean, that's not really popular.
What about
Titanfall? I was gonna say Titanfall is like the biggest
sure.
probably mech game ever, but even then, as you can see, kind of sort of fell to the wayside because of first-person shooter popularity, Call of Duty.
That I think is a more niche thing. It's hard to get people to wrap their head around controlling a mech and the nuances that a more complicated game would have. Like that one game with the giant controller, that one was a pretty complicated game, and and it didn't. No one was gonna buy an over $100 controller, and it was a very niche thing.
Yeah. Okay, on the topic of mechs, sorry to cut you off. Someone in my chat just brought up a game that really makes me sad the moment I saw that. Anthem. Does anyone know what Anthem is?
I saw
you know that game?
News about it after it died. I didn't know about it when it existed.
Yeah, that game looks so fun.
We're gonna talk about Anthem.
Everyone told me not to buy it.
I'm gonna get depressed because that game was the biggest letdown probably of the newest generations of game. Okay, Anthem is basically picture Iron Man suits. There's 4 different kinds. There was GK. If you could do me a favor and pull up like a YouTube video, just generic Anthem. It's called Anthem, made by BioWare, I think.
Oh yeah,
I think.
I think you're right.
Made by BioWare, so like a pretty reputable company. You know.
Yeah, I got it.
And basically they're Iron Man suits. There's 4 of them. There's a tank sort of archetype. There's a sort of mage archetype that does just a bunch of AoE. There's a sort of assassin ninja archetype that's fast and low HP. And then there's like an all-around sort of just gunner archetype that just does a lot of damage, right? And you're fighting monsters. You're doing these like boss battle objectives. It was so beautiful to play. The controls felt crisp and clean, and just everything about it was just beautiful, wonderful. And as soon as it launched, bugs, glitches, all the features that we were promised, just not there.
Right. Yeah.
They're coming.
Lack of support.
They're coming. Lack of support. And I was
the evolve
like,
problem.
What the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah, the evolve problem.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't like, oh, you have to pay for it. It was just, it's not there, period. It just wasn't there.
That sounds sounds like what's happening to the new Battlefield game.
It was more like what's a better analogy? The Fallout 76 problem.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It was like Fallout 76. There you go.
Zero support, basically.
Exactly. That's a better analogy. And this game was amazing because, as you can see on the screen, it had that
modular mech feel.
Oh, sure.
Right. You could change the components, the gear. You could change the individual color of the armor parts. Like, I'm telling you, like, this thing was set up to be.
Was it multiplayer?
Absolutely. Yes. It was 4-player squads. This game was set up to be so amazing, so fun. The gameplay was smooth as butter, dude. Like, they had an amazing game on their hands, but the support was absolutely non-fucking existent, dude. Non-existent.
Yeah.
And it had an amazing game.
It looks pretty okay.
It was a fucking amazing game, GK. I swear. Like, it was like...
Who's the developer?
BioWare.
Oh, BioWare's usually pretty good. Well, did they get no support from the publisher or something? Like, it could be a publisher not giving them funding.
I don't know what happened, but bro, I was pissed. Like, I bought like the $100 version of it. Someone in my chat was like, yeah, he even said it. I bought the $100 version pre-order and played it for 2 hours because you ran through all the content in a day.
You wait for it to be updated and it never came, right?
In less than a week, you ran through all the content, all the end game content, and there was no support. it was like, all right, that's it. Enjoy. It was supposed to be the Destiny killer.
Yeah.
The next Destiny.
It looks like a lot of work was put into it and everything.
There was.
This is probably
really
one of those that was rushed out. It's like to meet the publisher's like needs.
Yeah.
You know, they probably said like,
Yeah.
rush this
Do you
out.
think-
We need to get this in for the holiday season or whenever it came out. You know, and then they
But
weren't
look
able
at
to
it,
finish
dude.
it.
Look how
It looks
crisp it
great.
looks.
Yeah.
Look
yeah.
the concept
Exactly.
of
It
a
looks
customizable
clean.
mech.
Yeah.
Dude, you could customize everything from your guns to like, because every archetype, the tank, the ninja, the mage, this is the ranger, which is sort of, that's the mage right there. You all had different abilities. Like the mage guy could fly, you know, like slowly and like stay in the air. Like everyone could fly. Don't get me wrong, everyone could fly, you know. But every character had like abilities specific to them. Like this guy could cast lightning. The
really
ranger
cool.
could shoot like 50 million rockets, as you're about to see. The ninja could dash a lot and do like knife
A lot of
attacks.
variety in combat. Yeah.
Right. The Colossus was this big sort of like Hulkbuster kind of guy with like.
Was that the one with the shield?
flamethrowers.
That was the guy with the shield, right? I'm
Yeah,
guessing this game
exactly.
can't make can't have a redemption arc. Is it too old?
It's too old. It came out 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
That's the ninja. That was my guy. The ninja type. You could dash and use knives and teleport almost. Yeah.
Damn shame.
I feel like that's kind of just like the story of a lot of games right now, where I feel like it's
Emotes.
I don't know
yeah.
when
emotes.
I don't know when it started happening, but I feel like we've started like in like the past like 5 or 10 years. Like if you released a game that was half baked like 10 years ago,
A bad
you
first
just
impression.
would never make a game ever again. You'd just be done. As a
Yes.
company.
It had to be, the game had to be done.
Yeah.
It had to be complete. If it was
Yes.
half done, people left and never came back. First impressions
Yeah.
are very important.
Like
Yeah.
we had a
The
single
culture
game
has changed.
on the NES that was incomplete, ET, and that almost crashed the
Was that
entire
Atari?
video game market.
That was Atari.
Oh, was that Atari? Sorry, yeah, it's for Atari. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that
But
one's like a
you know.
weird special case where they had
Yeah.
to make more games and consoles, and I don't know, but yeah, I get what you're saying though.
But yeah, my point
destroyed
is
everything.
it's so much different than what it is right now. You can so easily release a game
Patch
that is
it.
actual trash and then just patch it afterwards, and you're just like, oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's
how
fine.
many games have like open beta phases where the game is like
Yeah.
complete crap? Like we talk about No Man's Sky. That game, they should have delayed that game and made it more like what it is now. But what they released was nothing, and it was pathetic.
On the other end of the spectrum, we also have a large group of games that are just endlessly in open beta. They just never get a real release. Like,
Oh,
I
God,
think
that sucks.
DayZ was like the first one that was like
It's
that.
still in beta.
Yeah.
You know what's the worst?
Yeah.
If a game is in beta and then they have the gall to have a season pass DLC while
Right.
it's in beta.
I don't like.
Hey, guys.
either of those.
We're in beta. It's okay.
Yeah, the bugs are
Oh.
expected, guys. It's not released yet.
Yeah.
10
And they
years
still
later.
It's a
expect you to
terrible
pay full price,
classification.
too. Yeah.
Right,
It's
you're still paying for it.
ridiculous.
Yeah, pay for the open beta. It's like
Yeah.
never gonna be a game. Okay,
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah, I remember when Steam had, this is where it started, Steam Greenlight. I don't know if anyone remembers. It started off pretty good with the promise of, we're going to have people buy into these games early. You're going to pay less for what the game is going to be fully, but you'll have it ahead of time. But then at some point it flipped where it's like you pay full price upfront for the game. And it was like that sort of defeats the purpose of like, you want to build up hype and support for your game and all that, you know. Who would want to pay for a game that's not even finished, that could possibly never even come out? Because a lot of these
Yeah.
games don't, and when they're like in beta and all that.
Yeah.
Anyway, sort of trying to, we have some like good conversations about the gaming industry in general, but in terms of the topic of obscure or dead games, Ness, while you're here, any others, either a single player game no one's heard about or another multiplayer game that's dead in the water?
Anthem.
Oh, yeah. I just looked up Anthem. The servers are shut down.
Oh no.
So dead. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, it's dead, dude.
I don't know,
That
man.
was
I
such
don't
disappointment.
play any like that many modern games. So
Or
all
just
I
in the
can-
past, like in general.
yeah, all I can
Like,
think of are like I don't know, games that had like really big potential to have cool scenes. It just never happened. I feel like there's a lot of games on less popular consoles that were really good that just kind of flew under the radar. Like I keep mentioning Custom Robo because I love that game. I never hear anybody talk about that one. I love Custom Robo. That's there's so many GameCube game titles I feel like that are in that same house where they're just like they're really solid games, but they just have no sequels and nobody's heard of them because it's on the GameCube and nobody had a GameCube. You know, like, not to the level of people at like PlayStation.
That horror game comes to mind. What's that horror game on
the shooter
GameCube?
one? Was it, Eternal Darkness.
Yeah,
Eternal
Darkness.
That one's kind of known. It didn't. I don't think it sold very well, but it has a cult following. There was a shooter game called Geist or something on the GameCube. I can't remember. You play as a ghost and you possess people, and then in order to possess people, you have to scare them. So you would like haunt them, make things fall, or whatever. I think I have the name wrong. I think it was called Geist or something. I don't know. Geist, it was Geist. Yeah, Jesus. Thank you. That was the game. That not too many people know about that one. I want to bring
itself, I think, was not that popular compared to the other Nintendo consoles.
Mm-hmm. No,
GameCube was like a weird transitional kind of thing where they did basically they had some online, but it was nowhere near Xbox Live levels what the PlayStation 2
There's a single game on GameCube that has internet on it, I think, and it's the I know I can't remember what the name of it is, but it has the
Phantasy Star.
Yeah, Phantasy Star. It's funny because it's the only game that has online support, and then they created that like monstrosity keyboard GameCube controller as a result.
Oh, I remember. It was a keyboard, but had both halves of the. It was almost like the Joy-Cons on a Switch, but it was with a keyboard and a GameCube. Yeah. Look up GameCube keyboard controller.
That's so funny.
Let me look it up as well.
That's my favorite obscure.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I'm gonna put it on stream. Hold on,
really
I'll put it
on. To buy one because I collect really dumb GameCube controllers.
I didn't know.
I'm gonna put this on stream real quick.
Cool but stupid.
Yeah, it's so useless. Like
$180? Are they joking? Who wants to buy that?
They're really hard to find now. So
wow.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise
me. All right, hold on. I'll open.
That is the dumbest cool looking thing I've ever seen.
The dumbest cool looking thing. Oh my god. Here, let me put it on stream real quick for everyone just to bask in. Yeah, this is it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Nintendo. Hey, I gotta give it to them. They come up with some interesting peripherals, man, over the years.
Yeah,
very interesting.
There are some really cool ones. Like the one that I always really liked was the add-on for the GameCube that let you play Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games. That was
the link cable.
I feel like that wasn't as popular or well known.
Game Boy Player.
Yeah. A game. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Dude, you needed so many wires. You needed everyone to like have a Game Boy Advance. It was a lot of things you needed to get to work.
If you don't have the disc, you can't play that today. Yeah.
I gotta give you some Game Boy though. I mean, the GameCube. That was probably one of the first like very modular sort of plug-in Nintendo consoles that they had. I mean, Dreamcast kind of started that with all the freaking things you could connect to that. But
Dreamcast was ahead of its time.
They actually they made the. I don't know if it was an NES or SNES, but they've been planning to have add-ons for every single system that they've made. Like pretty much from the start, Nintendo has.
If you look at the bottom of a GameCube, there's a bunch of ports that they never used.
Yeah, like
the SNES
modding community made use of them.
They had an expansion port on the bottom of the SNES, I believe.
Yeah,
as well.
they were expecting to add like obviously they wanted to add the CDI stuff, which ended up being trash, but like. They wanted to add CDI stuff. They had potential for maybe like graphics updates and stuff like that. Like for N64, you have the expansion pack, which is all basically
the RAM expansion,
Yep.
Which they had to include it in Donkey Kong Country because the game wouldn't work without it, and they had to throw it in.
Yep. Yeah. So that's So there have been like little things like that from the beginning, but yeah,
Skies of Arcadia. Yeah, I know that name.
I remember that. Yeah. Oh, Power Stone, probably one of my favorite Dreamcast games.
Oh, that's another one.
I actually have a Dreamcast. Still, just sitting in my closet.
Although I gotta say, my favorite Nintendo attachments were back in the day on the Game Boy Color, where you didn't have a back screen light, so you had to buy those attachments, the light attachment on top, plus the magnifying glass, plus the speakers on the bottom. Dude, your Game Boy ended up looking like a fucking transformer, bro.
And it ceased being portable after a point.
You'd be in the back of your car, like.
Here's a really funny one for you. Do you guys remember they released like episodes of cartoons for the Game Boy Advance?
Oh, they were so poorly pixelated really and so low res. They were unwatchable. I think the entirety of Shrek you can get on the Game Boy Advance, and it looks like shit. Like there's no way I'm watching the whole movie like this. Like strain your eyes. Funny. And wait, multi-taps? Oh, for the PlayStation 1, I think had to deal with multi-taps. Those were a pain in the ass to set up too.
What are those?
2 ports into 4.
You can do it for NES as well.
Oh, NES! NES, you can play Nightmare on Elm Street with 4 people for some reason. And there's a couple of other games too. What?
It's when a console only has 2 ports, 2 controller ports, you have to get an attachment that makes it like more ports.
Like so 4, yeah.
Oh, those.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember those. Yeah.
Why didn't they just think to put 4 ports on it? Like PS2 should have known.
Probably for the cost of the board to have it.
Could be.
Now I know what you're talking about. It just took me a while to remember that. What the taps? Yep.
And not a lot of games utilize those. Usually. Like who really wants to like go play Nightmare on Elm Street with people? Hey everyone, let's come over. Let's play some Nightmare on Elm Street together.
It was useful for parties, right? Like everybody would crowd around and play Super Smash Bros. Melee or.
Well, you didn't need a multi-tap for that shit.
Well, I know, but if you only had a PS2 like me, you were shit out of luck. So.
Oh, Bomberman! Cool. Bomberman needed the multi-tap. Okay, yeah, that would have been a good one to play.
I really like the Bomberman games. I gotta say, those are really fun.
That's a good one.
How about Bomberman? I think it was '99. That really shitty Xbox 360 one where they try to make it gritty and realistic. Does anyone remember that? Talk about obscure games. The really shitty game in a popular series, Bomberman 90. Let me pull up some footage of it because that's a good one. It's not a good game that anyone likes, but it's funny. Bomberman 99. I can
like vaguely remember is Bomberman Generation.
Wait, was it Bomberman 99? What was the name of that shitty Bomberman game? Oh, Xbox 360.
I can't remember.
Oh shoot.
Bomberman Act Zero. Ooh, this is shitty. Let me get the.
They try to make it like hyper realistic or something.
Yes, they added a story where it's a bunch of like criminals fighting to the death. And the last one's
like
Squid Games.
That's like the Pac-Man game.
Yeah.
Oh
so,
yeah.
Look at this shit. That doesn't look like Bomberman.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, that's
this is an obscure game that I don't like, but it's funny to bring up. Like, look,
that's just
why make Bomberman realistic?
This
look at
reminds
this
me of the Pac-Man platformer they made.
Yeah, that's the Pac-Man Adventures, right?
Yeah,
I rented that. That was an okay platformer, but why make it Pac-Man?
Right. I did hear it's.
That's not what Pac-Man is.
They just have a bad product, and they have to like package as something that they think's gonna sell.
Yeah.
So then
I guess they threw a good name on it. Pac-Man will sell. It's not a Pac-Man game, but surely would sell.
I think what happens is like they have like a promising concept for a game, and then they start making it, and they realize, oh, this is probably really bad.
Oh
and
yeah,
they're like, okay, how do I get money
or
off
it's
this?
what would draw people in? Like they could have a good game, and then like what would draw people in? That's the story of Dinosaur Planet, which I talked about in my Iceberg video for N64. That it was a generic game made by Rare, and they figured let's make it Star Fox. That'll get people to buy it, and it's about anthro characters, so why not? Yeah. That was an interesting story. Good thing that game leaked.
I haven't heard in a while. Rare.
And look how shitty. Like why this is that Pac-Man? Does that look like Pac-Man to you? Look at this. I mean, not Pac-Man, Bomberman. Does this look like Bomberman to any of you? Like, look at this.
That looks like some sort of weird generic like villain for a PS2 game.
Yeah.
God, that was really bad. I bet they wanted to forget that one existed. Oof, boy.
Wow.
Yeesh. I'm looking through my games folder of GameCube games now.
Here's I wouldn't call it a dead game, but it's definitely obscure. In terms of, I mean, it's obscure yet it's not, but it's one of my favorite gaming series of all time, Metal Gear Solid.
Okay. Yeah.
What's obscure about that?
It's purposely obscure. I mean, it's not like
people know the name.
It looks like Yes, they know the name, but they don't know the game. If that makes sense. Like, yeah,
you're talking
like,
about Revengeance.
Which
no, just like
you're talking
about
Metal
Gear
Skate
Solid.
game. Are you talking about the skate game?
No, just Metal Gear Solid. Just Metal Gear Solid in general. Like, I feel like people don't really know the game because it's a very obscure story.
I actually love the fourth one, but it did not. I don't think that game got a lot of love.
I only played through Metal Gear Solid 3. It is not a pick up and play game. It definitely scares some people off with how much. But Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater was phenomenal. Like, but I couldn't play Metal. I tried playing Metal Gear Solid 2. I couldn't. The fixed camera angles, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, that one's tough, right?
Yeah, I've played every Metal Gear Solid 1 through 4. I still haven't played 5 just because I have a list of solo player games right above me that I have to finish. Like,
oh yeah, I bought Phantom Pains as well. I never got around to playing it. I really should at some point.
Yeah, I still have to finish that, but like I've experienced all of them, and I call it experiencing at this point because at this point, like, Metal Gear Solid is more than a game. Like, it's a story. Like, Hideo Kojima makes stories.
You're watching a movie. You're playing a movie.
You're playing. You are. I'll admit it. Like, it's not about the gameplay. It's about the story. It's very story driven, especially with games like Death Stranding. That's a controversial game for some people. But I thought that was an amazing experience. I call it an experience because to me, it's more than a game. And
it's an experience. It's not necessarily fun to
play.
GK
over here. I gotta point this way on the camera. GK over here complaining about Death Stranding. Meanwhile,
to Death
he plays games like Mario, which is literally just a walking simulator too.
Nah, that's a gross oversimplification.
Platformers are not.
I don't want to hear it.
Simulators.
I don't want to hear it, GK. You shit on Death Stranding for being a walking simulator, yet you play Mario, which is literally a walking simulator.
I still have to think every day.
Of the same exact thing.
I'm living in a timeline where Silent Hills never came to beat, but we got Death Stranding instead.
It's not his fault.
I know it's not his fault, but I would prefer to live in the timeline where they didn't screw over Kojima and they let him make Silent Hills. That would have been a better world to live in.
No, I'm about to fight you. I'm a Kojima stan, all right? Time out.
I feel like
it is not his fault. It is not Guillermo del Toro's
fault. Well, no, it's not his fault.
They canceled that.
It's not their fault. Konami should have let him make Silent Hills. That would have been a better world. It's Konami's fault.
Exactly. Fuck Konami. I'll say that on stream. Fuck Konami.
Yes.
Fuck Konami.
They do make some good pachinko games.
Future relationship with them. Fuck Konami. All right.
Oh, God.
Sponsorships out the window now.
Throw any Konami sponsorships out the window.
Hey,
fuck Konami.
Hashtag not sponsored. My opinions could be changed. We got to talk about
it. My opinions
but right
could
now,
change, a little change.
I think Konami's pretty shitty right now, and in my opinion, they're kind of shitty.
What they did to him recently was shitty. Okay, and
they used to be on top of the world.
Yes, it just goes to show you how culture and relationships can change. And how, it just goes to show you how much of a G Konami used to be when they had Metal Gear Solid. And then it just goes to show you how much of a G my man Kojima is, because Sony came in and was like, yo, bro, you want like $1 billion, your own company, your own building? Here you go. Go make a game. Guess what, bitches? Game of the year. I would say mic drop, but it's on a tripod, so.
That whole Konami thing is like, I don't know what they were smoking when they figured, you know what, there's no money in video games, let's make Pachinko. Like, oh God, it's just a complete disaster.
Smoking.
Anyway, we are
bath salts.
We are getting pretty to the 2-hour mark. Does anyone have any others they want to bring up? All like Ness or Death Row or Rez?
I do have two actually that are kind of obscure because another game got more popular than them, which I think is kind of interesting.
Okay, let's hear it.
So the first one is DDR, Dance Dance Revolution.
I thought that's like a very popular arcade game.
It is.
Sure.
It is, but I don't think. I think if you ask people about DDR today, at least people that are post Just Dance, society.
That's a good point. The youngins are not going to know this DDR.
Yeah.
Back in my day.
Yeah, because I remember playing like exclusively DDR.
Well,
and I love that game.
I think because
still love it.
DDR doesn't have like a good console port, right? Like I remember those mats being cheap.
They had
and not good.
GameCube had one, but you had to buy the thing. And you had to lay down on your floor. It was a pain in the ass.
I still have the Mario Mix dance pad, and it's just Mario game. It's just Mario music.
You know, I can only imagine you show a kid, here's DDR, here's a mat you have to dance on. Wait, you have to press the buttons on the floor. That's like a baby's toy. Just Dance, you can use your whole body.
Right.
I don't know if I would call it obscure. I think it just fit
It's fading out. It's starting to fade out.
Not even. It just DDR.
It does have
arcade.
cultural relevance. It is still known. It's just as I said, the youngins less likely to know.
DDR was more for the arcade.
I think they had successful
dances at home.
Console versions of it though. The one for the PS2 is really good. The one for PS2 is solid. Like if you haven't played it on that one, I think it's like Dance Dance Revolution, Supernova or something.
But they're not going to release a Dance Dance Revolution at this point. They would use like the full camera technology.
Yeah,
it's considered primitive now.
Arcade.
Even with
considered primitive.
Even with the cheap mat, it's still good. You're saying?
Yeah. Well, to me anyway, like when you're playing it in an arcade, you're basically guaranteeing that something on it is going to be broken because you got all these kids spilling pop and stuff like that.
Public use equipment.
Yeah. The pads they had for DDR on like the console release were like they're not like the hard pad, they're like a soft pad. But they had some pretty good staying power. Like I think we used it for pretty heavy use for like 2 years before they were breaking down. They were pretty solid for what they were used for, I would say.
Okay.
And you didn't have to worry about like dozens of people every day on it. It was your own personal equipment.
We had it in the basement of for reference. We had it in the basement of our church.
I feel like DDR was popular, but I feel like Guitar Hero was way more popular. I know they're kind of different, but
rhythm
based.
One's
One's at home, one's at arcade. There's
actually both audience. Guitar Hero and Rock Band, like
Rock Band.
That's starting to phase out too. They used to release one of those, like it got too crazy and oversaturated.
Yeah.
You think? I think maybe one per console generation could be good, but and not to mention you have to store all that shit. I know people had closets full of these stupid guitars that would break, and it was it just took up so much space.
Though.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Oh, the drum set was massive too.
Rock Band is just better than Guitar Hero. I'll be the first to say it.
Yes.
There's more to it.
I will argue Rock Band.
Well, Guitar Hero was first. Guitar Hero was first. Rock Band made it better.
Yeah. I will die on my hill that DDR and Just Dance are not the same, and I like DDR and I don't like Just Dance.
They're not.
The thing, I feel like Just Dance is more focused on like the footwork, while Just Dance you have to use your whole body, and some people don't like to swing their arms around. It's a little more cumbersome.
I'm not good at that, so I'm more for the press.
Yeah, you're not a dancer, but DDR is pure rhythm. You can do that without being a dancer.
Yeah, and I'm a musician.
DDR was competitive. DDR was actually exciting.
I don't think you can do Just Dance competitive because you have to rely on the game to register you properly, and sometimes it can't.
Fuck yeah, I'm gonna lose this sponsor too. Fuck Just Dance.
True.
Just Dance is the Nintendo Sports of dance games. I said it. I'm waving my hands.
Okay.
And, did you have another one, Ness?
Yeah, the other one. The series, they actually just released one, but it really sucked. But I think Harvest Moon kind of goes in the same category.
Oh yeah,
because
Harvest Moon was the OG. Everyone's talking about what's the new one? Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley is the Harvest Moon killer. But Harvest Moon has been out for like years before.
Oh yeah.
What is Harvest Moon? What is that?
It's
farming sim.
Yeah, it's like a farming sim. It's kind of along the lines of like Animal Crossing, except it's like all human characters, and it's like more. I don't know if you'd say realistic. You like farm for stuff. And
some of them have dating elements, I think.
Yeah. So the GameCube one, you interact with people in the town, and then there's like a bunch of girls that you can choose to like marry from, and then you have kids and stuff like that. So you like live out your entire life basically on this like.
It's like a relaxing kind of game.
Fun. Yeah, it's a fun game.
Yeah,
right?
I want to point out something. I don't know if you consider this obscure. It's a game that doesn't exist yet. Does anyone recall of the controversy of the evil farming game? Does anyone remember this? It was a game that someone thought existed in the past, but it turns out it didn't, and people are going to make it real. It is Harvest Moon. Picture Harvest Moon, managing your crops, like talking to people in town, trying to like maintain your stuff. But you start the game as a husband who killed your wife, and you got to hide the body from the police that are trying to find it. So you got to maintain your farm, you got to hide your wife, you got to keep moving it. The cops are on you, so you have to keep changing locations. And you got to try to not be so suspicious. Isn't that an interesting game? You're trying to maintain your farm while
so random. Like it's basically a murder mystery. You just happen to be a farmer.
But you're the murderer in that murder mystery. Though. You're trying to keep it a mystery. Look, if you guys want to look it up, it's on Steam, yet to be released. It is called The Evil Farming Game Replant It. Rolls right off the tongue. I don't know how good the game will be. It's a cool concept.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be great.
They'll sponsor us. Now that we're talking about.
Hey man, I'm just out here throwing hot takes after hot takes. But guys, if you don't know me, that's what you're gonna get when you come to my chat. It's hot takes after hot takes.
I mean, what are you gonna do in a podcast other than like not talk about shit?
I got a lot to say, boy. I'm very opinionated, but that's New Yorkers in general. I mean, for those of you who don't know, me, GK, and Death Row, we're all from New York. We're opinionated people. We're loud people. Okay, that's just who we are. It's our personality. Being a New Yorker is just what we do. All right.
All right. So, does anyone have any others before we try to sign off? And also, anyone lurking in chat, anyone has any they want to bring in? Here's the call-in link. Rez, Death Row, or any last ones, Ness?
Not for me.
No. I think I've mourned the loss of some great games already. Anthem is the biggest one. Anthem. Anthem.
All right, I can bring up one more very casually. It's a single player game that's on Steam. And there is a game I played this on stream a year ago called Door in the Woods. Does that name ring any bells to anyone?
No, I haven't heard of that.
Okay, so Door in the Woods, it is a survival. I think it's a roguelike.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
here we go.
It's a survival roguelike with a unique and interesting. So it is the Cthulhu mythos. You trying to survive in a world that has fallen with like monsters and eldritch beings, and the graphics are the most unique. It is ASCII graphics.
Oh God, what the fuck?
Oh.
It is turn-based. Every time you is this gonna fucking play or what? Oh shit.
It's so out there that the screen crashed.
Hold on a second.
This already looks really neat though.
So it is every time you move, it's a turn-based game. So you move, you play as an @ symbol in a town of ASCII. You have to maintain your health, your you can't really see it so good because it's being let me make this smaller. I don't know if you can tell there's stats. You have sanity and everything you have to look out for. This game has a feature where you can be driven to suicide. Now you're thinking, you're playing a game, why not just fight out to the last breath? Why would you want to willingly, take the coward's way out in a game?
Alt F4.
That I think the game actually prevents that in some ways. I don't know. I don't remember. But this game, you have progression, and you keep maintaining points, and you basically keep your progression. But you have a sanity meter. If you die while insane, you lose all of your progression you have ever made. So if you think you're gonna go insane, and if you think you're vulnerable to die, you may want to end your game before you go insane. If you think you can survive being insane, hopefully you can, like, get out of that funk, survive the night, like, chill out and get away from the enemies, and you can make yourself sane again. And then if you die while sane through hunger or whatever, it's fine because you don't lose everything. You only lose everything if you're insane. And, like, there's zombies you have to work out. There's, like, stats, like, you get melee weapons, you get guns. It's hard to find ammo, so if you shoot, you make a lot of noise. You also need to save a bullet to actually commit the deed, because if you try to off yourself with a knife, you don't die instantly. You have to bleed out, so you got to wait, and you could fall insane while you're bleeding out. So it's a very interesting game, I think. Not too many people have heard about it. It's definitely it is niche. I will say that.
That looks like
Save it to
something I'd
GK,
load
so-
up. Yeah,
It's a very
that looks
simple
like something
game
I'd
you
load
can-
up in the 70s or something.
Well, I mean,
For real,
it's
dude.
it's the aesthetic of it.
That's
I
like
mean,
that's a calculator game. That's what that is.
No,
For real. I would play this on a calculator.
Yeah.
I think that like it's going to be
Back in high
increasingly
school.
important as like time goes on for games to kind of, because like we're reaching a point, not to get into too long of a tangent, I guess, but like we're reaching a point where like realism in games is not going to be that different between each generation, right? Like
we're starting to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the to me, the route for people going forward, for game developers, is to make games with some sort of iconic art style or art direction or something that differentiates itself, that's not just like another gritty shooter, you know, with realistic
Right.
design. And we're starting to
try to
kind of see that
stylize
a
it.
little bit. Like I like, you know, even like I don't know, like Apex and stuff like that. Like character designs and stuff are unique,
Yes.
more kind of closer to like the route that like Overwatch has taken, I'd say, where it's like there's a personality to each of these classes and like they're all very,
Exactly.
very distinct. And I think that that's like that game right there, even though that one's kind of like an interesting, like weird art style, I appreciate when a game can come up with like a unique, you know, approach to visuals like that. Like that's really cool.
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree with that entirely because, I like you said, the sort of aspect of trying to sell your game, like, oh, look how realistic it is, or look how mechanically intimate it is. Like, for example, I think that can also backfire. Like, if you look at, for example, games like Escape from Tarkov, it was very popular
dry
at first, but it very quickly diminished because it's very boring. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my god, I can manually
it appeals
load
to
the
some
bullets
people,
into the
but it's very
magazine,
dry.
and like the magazine can
That's
jam.
why I like
Oh my
Stalker.
God. Like it's so
But
realistic.
Stalker's
but, like,
unique in its own ways.
yeah, but like Escape from Tarkov is so boring because it's like, okay, it's realistic, but like, I don't want it to be that realistic. But
Right.
like you said, you have games like Apex Legends, Overwatch, which are stylistically and creatively unique to stand out in this sort of meta of battle royales and shooters, to be not Call of Duty or Battlefield or Halo, you know?
Yeah, games with a good stylistic look, they tend to stand the test of time. Like, what do you think? What game do you think looks better now? Ocarina of Time or Wind Waker? What would you
Right,
rather like
yeah.
look at?
That's the big one for me. It's like and if you just look at Nintendo games in general, besides games on the N64, because everything on the N64 looks like garbage. as far as I'm
Polygonal
concerned.
blocks.
But every other game on a Nintendo console, like a mainline game, I can go back and play them, and I'm still like, wow, these are really good graphics. Like I can look at a game, even one that has more like the modern style that you would see. Like if you look at like Mario Sunshine, I think Mario Sunshine still looks great. Even like the SD version of it looks really awesome. And then like if you go even further back, like to pretty much anything pixel art, I think always holds up. As long as it's
16-bit
like,
looks good
yeah.
today.
Yeah, 16-bit looks good. I'll say the NES definitely is kind of ugly in general, but like anything on the
The
SNES
technology was not
onwards,
perfected
yeah.
yet. The technology was perfected with the SNES.
Yeah, 100%. But and that's because there were limitations there, but they just created a stylized approach to it, and they're able to make things look good with what they're using. I feel like we're kind of in this weird like limbo state at the moment where like we're almost at the point where we can do it, but we're not quite there. So now everything is just gonna not look good in like 5-10 years until we get it down all the way.
It's also going to be annoying if they keep trying to push the envelope with more realistic graphics, with more particle effects, with like ambience. You need stronger like graphics cards, and I'm just getting so sick of like trying to find these things, pay for them, and these retro games. Like if I was in a position where I had to buy like a budget like laptop or something, a lot like that Door in the Wood game, that Door in the Woods game, I could probably play on like the most budget of laptops imaginable.
Well, I gotta play devil's advocate here, because like, right, yeah, you have your games like Cyberpunk, which like they were trying to push the high fidelity as a selling point. Like, oh my, look how crisp and clean this game looks, but like obviously it flopped like it did, right? Glitches galore. But I gotta admit, to me, graphics and the fluidity of the game and the feeling of the game does matter. It does. It makes or breaks a game for me. As someone who plays FPSs mostly, the feeling of the game the fluidity of the motion, the action really matters. Like, you know, I keep saying it again and again. Apex Legends, great example. That game feels so fluid and crisp because it had the framework of Titanfall, which to me is one of the cleanest shooters of all time. Like the feeling of that game when you play Titanfall 2, dude, oh my god, it just, the wall running, the hopping, the grappling, the shooting, it just butter, dude, butter. And then you have things like Call of Duty, like the new one, for example, and the new Battlefields are getting flack because it feels jittery. You feel heavy almost. It like you're running through mud almost, and it's not the same. And so that does matter. It does matter.
Yeah,
you know?
I feel like fluidity and like range of motion, like what options you have and stuff like that, that's all kind of disconnected from like at least like the graphical side of it, I would argue. Like to me, like I always have to go back to the Smash thing because that's a game I play competitively, but like to me, like Melee feels so much more fluid and nice to play, and like obviously the graphics
and that was a
are not
total
as good.
accident.
Yeah, right. And that game feels awesome to play, but then there's times in Ultimate, like the newest one, where I'm just like, I will press buttons and it won't happen, or like my character doesn't move the way I want it to. And
now, is that more of the online, or is that the engine, you think?
Yeah, I was about to
it's a little bit of both. It really depends, because like there are a lot of issues in Ultimate. Obviously, one of the big things is there's input delay in a lot of newer games. I feel like there's just a lot more input delay than old games have, which is really weird. But there's more native input delay in Ultimate than there is in Melee.
Do you think that's ridiculous? Do you think that's because you're playing like with a wireless controller, or do you think that's just the way the game is designed?
You actually cannot get around it. It's like it regardless of what controller you're using, there is always 6 frames of input delay in Ultimate. At least.
I think they're trying to make it to cover for potentially people with lesser quality internet. But
what is that?
You know,
isn't that called lag compensation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because of that or if it's due to actual like limitations on the Switch itself, which I feel like could probably be a thing. I don't know.
So more of an architectural actual limitation.
Yeah.
Well, Nintendo's not going to admit to what their weaknesses are, so we can only speculate.
Good old Nintendo. Man. I love Nintendo.
I love and hate that company. They're my favorite and least favorite company, depending on the day.
I feel like that's every Nintendo player.
Yeah.
Hey, does everyone love that they're offering N64 online? Do you love that it costs $30 more?
Man.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
I don't even want to talk about the N64 online. That is such a mess.
No, we talked about that a lot. Maybe they'll reconsider, or maybe not. Anyway, I don't know. I guess we're getting pretty close to the point of wrapping. Again, last second, if anyone wants to call in, I appreciate you being here, Ness, giving some of your thoughts on obscure dead games. Anyway, so that was pretty good. I'm gonna look for someone to raid if we don't have anyone who wants to call in last second. But yeah, that was, and I didn't even get that. Okay, that was a very productive. I actually didn't get to all the games on my list. I only kept to the cream of the crop, and some of the games like I have less to talk about. I had Nidhogg on my list, but I think that's
cool.
Probably that one I think is a little bit more well known. It's just kind of they updated that game recently, which is crazy. Hopefully that game can make a resurgence.
Shout out to the chat. Thank you guys for inputting and giving me ideas.
Oh yeah,
giving us ideas. I couldn't even remember or think of Anthem, probably because it was so repressed in my mind for being such a disappointment.
Oh no!
But that's an amazing example of an obscure dead game that just died in a brilliant, glorious fire of disappointment, Fallout 76 style.
Ugh. Man,
Fallout 76.
Who made Fallout 76? That's not BioWare. That's
Bethesda.
Bethesda, yeah.
Bethesda.
Yeah.
I heard it was their B team. It wasn't even the main dev team. It was. I
can't believe they would ever put the B team on their main.
Yeah, their main series.
That's a bad decision by
the
manager, the management, which I guess is another conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. This was an interesting topic, and I feel like we could potentially go back to it again.
There's a lot. There's an endless amount of games that people have forgotten about.
Yeah. Or games I never even heard about that I wish were popular.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Anyway, So that was pretty good. I'm gonna set up this raid for Eckert, who's playing Persona right now. So we say hey to him. I appreciate you all hanging with me. I appreciate your input. Hopefully, we also glad that Rez was able to make it. Hopefully, you can be on the next one 2 weeks from now. Hopefully, we typically do it every other Sunday. So this Sunday and 2 weeks from now Sunday, if you can.
I will definitely be around for future episodes. I don't know which ones, but future episodes. Your boy is in the zone right now. You know, not lost in the sauce.
We gotta think of another topic. Anyone has any topic ideas, let me know in my Discord. Anyway. That was fun. I will catch you all later.
Later, guys.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.